As the sun dips below the horizon over the Mediterranean, a warm breeze sweeps across the rocky shores of Malta. This island, though small, is bursting with stories, legends passed down over centuries, each whispering a piece of Malta's rich tapestry of myth and history. Malta's mythology isn't just a collection of old stories. It's the heartbeat of the land, woven into the cliffs and caves, lingering in the night air, alive in the superstitions and beliefs still held close by many. Malta sits in the Mediterranean Sea, a speck of islands nestled between Sicily and the North African coast. It's a unique place, a crossroads of cultures that have shaped its people for thousands of years. The Phoenicians, Romans, Arabs, Normans, and many others left their mark on Malta, each bringing pieces of their own legends, gods, and spirits. But Malta took these fragments and made them its own, blending them into tales that are as wild and beautiful as the land itself. The stories here were born from the land. Malta is a place of caves, cliffs, and ancient temples. These aren't just places, they're alive with whispers of the past. Every stone, every hidden cove, seems to hold a story, as if the land itself is breathing history. The Gantija temples, older than the pyramids, are said to have been built by giants. The caves that twist beneath the island? They're said to be the homes of spirits, beings who guard treasures and protect secrets. Long ago, Malta's first inhabitants believed in the powerful, mysterious forces of nature. They looked up at the skies and saw the gods and the stars. They felt the presence of something ancient in the caves and cliffs around them. They imagined giants roaming the hills, monsters lurking beneath the waves, and spirits watching over the valleys. These weren't just stories, but truths that people believed, and in some ways, still believe. Children grew up hearing about the giants who roamed their lands, their footsteps shaking the ground beneath them, and the magical creatures that guarded the shores. As more people came to Malta, the island's myths grew richer, changing shape with each new influence. The Phoenicians brought their gods, some fierce and others protective, gods who blessed the seas and cursed enemies. When the Romans arrived, they saw the land as a place of mystical energy and built temples to their own gods, hoping to harness the power they felt in the earth and sea. Their legends began to blend with Malta's stories, and together, they grew into something stronger, something rooted in both ancient superstition and timeless wonder. Later came the Arabs, bringing stories of jinn, spirits of fire and air, both mischievous and wise. They believed the jinn could be both friend and foe, and this idea took root in Malta. The Maltese started to believe that spirits, some kind and others vengeful, lived in the caves and cliffs, watching over the island. To this day, people still feel a strange energy in certain places, as if something unseen is watching, guiding, or even testing them. Even Christianity, which transformed Malta with the arrival of St. Paul, became a part of the island's mythology. Legends say that when St. Paul was shipwrecked on Malta, the island was filled with serpents, creatures that hissed and crawled across the land. St. Paul, in the stories, drove them away, casting them into the sea and blessing the land. But even today, there are tales of strange, ancient creatures that survived in the shadows, those who managed to escape his blessing. Some say you can still hear them in the winds that whip through the caves, or see their shadows flit across the rocky terrain at dusk. The seas around Malta are alive with myths too, fed by centuries of sailors who whispered about monsters lurking in the depths. Sailors spoke of serpents with 7 heads, each one more terrifying than the last, waiting beneath the waves to swallow ships whole. Those stories struck fear into the hearts of fishermen and travelers, and even today, the waters around Malta carry a sense of mystery and danger. Some still believe that there's more lurking beneath the waves than we know. In the countryside, ancient trees and old ruins are said to be haunted by spirits who protect the land, warding off anyone who dares to disturb them. Farmers tell tales of hearing whispers in the fields at night, voices that seem to come from the earth itself. They say that the spirits guard their lands fiercely, and many still leave offerings of bread or wine at certain places, hoping to stay in their good graces. It's a quiet acknowledgement of the forces they believe are still at work, unseen yet ever present. The island's culture itself is infused with these tales. Each year, festivals celebrate both saints and spirits, a blend of the sacred and the mysterious. Bonfires are lit, songs are sung, and people dress in costumes, honoring the spirits of their ancestors and the mythical creatures that, in their hearts, they believe still roam the land. Even the architecture, with its strong, ancient stones, seems to be watching, holding its own secrets, stories etched into its very foundation. People here still feel a connection to those old tales, as if the myths are part of them. Parents pass down stories to their children, who then grow up feeling that there's more to this island than meets the eye. It's a place where the past is always present, a place where people walk side by side with their legends. And as night falls and the shadows stretch across the rocky cliffs, one can't help but feel that those stories are real, that somewhere in the darkness, the old spirits are watching, the giants are sleeping, and the sea is whispering its ancient secrets to the wind. In Malta, myth is alive. Long ago, in a time when the air was thick with mystery and the sun's warmth felt like the touch of gods, the people of Malta held beliefs that spoke to the soul. They believed the land was alive with spirits, and that every shadow, every gust of wind, carried a message from beyond. Their faith wasn't in temples made by human hands, but in the earth itself, the rocks, the sea, the caves, and the stars. This was an ancient, raw spirituality, rooted in respect for forces they couldn't see but could feel in every fiber of their being. The Phoenicians were among the first to bring their own gods and myths to Malta. Sailors, traders, and explorers, they traveled with a devotion to powers far greater than themselves. As they set foot on Malta's shores, they saw something powerful in the land, a strength that felt almost sacred. To the Phoenicians, Malta was a place where their gods would feel at home, and so they introduced their beliefs, blending their own spiritual ways with the island's natural mystique. One of their most cherished deities was Astarte, goddess of love, fertility, and war. She was seen as both nurturer and protector, a fierce guardian of her people. To the Phoenicians, Astarte's spirit was everywhere. They believed her power lived in the fertility of the land and the strength of the sea. Her presence was in the soil that bore crops, in the tides that provided fish, in the very air that filled their lungs. Maltese people began to adopt her story, to see her as a spirit of the island, watching over them, blessing them with abundance yet testing their strength. There was also Melkart, a god of the sea and the underworld, whose energy mirrored the deep mystery of the Mediterranean waters. The Phoenicians feared him but also revered him, seeing him as the protector of sailors and travelers. As Melkart's legend found its way into Maltese hearts, people started to believe that the sea was not just water but a living, breathing force with moods and spirits. Every journey across its waters became an act of faith, a silent prayer to Melkart for safe passage. Even today, there's a certain reverence for the sea, a sense that it holds secrets known only to the gods. Then came the Carthaginians, with beliefs that were as powerful and enduring as their empire. Their god, Baal, was one of fire and storms, a god who controlled the heavens and the earth. To the Carthaginians, Baal's might was unyielding, both feared and adored. When they brought his worship to Malta, his presence became intertwined with the island's rugged landscape. In times of storms, people believed it was Baal himself expressing his power, his rage, or his sorrow. The crash of thunder, the flash of lightning, they were signs that Baal was alive, watching over them, reminding them of his force. The Maltese people held onto this idea, feeling that their lives were never separate from the whims of powerful, unseen forces. Over time, these gods became something uniquely Maltese. They were no longer just the Phoenician Astarte or the Carthaginian Baal, they were transformed by the island itself. People began to see them as spirits woven into the landscape, guardians of the caves, the cliffs, the valleys. They saw them in the changing seasons, in the fierce summer sun, and in the gentle rains of spring. These beliefs shaped the way people lived, how they respected the land, and how they saw themselves as part of something larger. These ancient myths didn't fade away. They became part of Malta's identity, passed down through whispers, traditions, and stories that parents told their children as they fell asleep. When Christianity reached Malta, the old gods were not forgotten. They lingered, reshaping themselves, merging with the new faith in ways that were subtle but lasting. People began to see saints and spirits together, as if the old and new beliefs were holding hands, creating a balance that comforted them. Today, in Malta's folklore, the old gods and myths still breathe. They're found in tales of mysterious beings that guard the land and sea, and stories of strange lights and shadows that move in the caves. The Phoenician and Carthaginian beliefs live on, woven into Malta's soul, a reminder that the ancient past is never truly gone. People still look to the sea with a quiet respect, feeling the weight of ages gone by, the power of gods who may still be watching, guarding, and guiding. As the quiet of night blankets Malta and the stars pierce the sky like ancient watchful eyes, there's a feeling that these stones, these waters, this land itself is alive with something more. For thousands of years, Malta's people have believed that the island was blessed, or perhaps bound, by forces too vast to fully understand. The gods and goddesses of Malta were not just distant figures, they were woven into the everyday lives of the people, watching from the heavens, roaming the hills, swimming in the sea, and lurking in the shadows. Malta's earliest goddesses were figures of awe and mystery, rooted in the island's prehistory. The oldest is the Fat Lady, a divine mother figure revered at Malta's prehistoric temples, such as Hagar Kim and Gantija. These temples, silent and strong, stand as testaments to the devotion of ancient people who saw her as the giver of life. To them, she was not just a statue but a living force who nurtured the land and blessed them with fertile fields and bountiful harvests. Her curves symbolized abundance, her arms, protection, and her face, deliberately left featureless, became any woman, any mother, a figure that lived in every Maltese heart. In those early days, her presence was everywhere. When crops flourished, people whispered thanks to her. When storms raged, they prayed she would calm the seas and save their homes. Her spirit was felt in every stone, every blade of grass. For the people, she was Malta, and Malta was her, a powerful mother who held both life and death in her hands. And some say, even now, that on quiet nights in the temple ruins, her energy is still there, lingering, a memory of Malta's ancient soul. As the island's culture shifted, other deities joined her. The Phoenicians arrived, bringing their goddess Astarte, a being of love, beauty, and war. Astarte was a goddess of passion and power, fierce and wild. The Maltese felt her spirit in the fierce winds and crashing waves that battered the shores. Fishermen, hardened by the dangers of the sea, spoke of her in reverence, feeling she was there with them, watching, judging, protecting, or punishing. They saw her reflection in the sunset over the sea, vibrant and intense, a reminder of her beauty and wrath. Astarte's presence was also felt in the creatures of the island. Her wild energy was said to have flowed into Malta's creatures, filling them with life and unpredictability. There were whispers of strange beasts roaming the caves, creatures born of Astarte's passion and mystery. These creatures, some claimed, would appear and vanish like the wind, guardians of the island and protectors of its secrets. To see one was a sign that the goddess herself was watching. And while few dared to look too closely, the stories lived on, a reminder that even the animals were sacred, touched by the goddess's hand. Alongside Astarte was Melkart, the god of the sea and the underworld, a figure of terrifying power. He was not a gentle god but a force to be feared, respected, obeyed. Melkart's influence was strongest in the darkest places, the deep sea, the bottomless caves, the shadows of cliffs. The Maltese whispered his name in awe, knowing that he was the one who controlled the tides, who could bring their boats back safely or drag them down to the depths. His presence made the sea feel alive, as if it held secrets too terrible for any human to understand. In time, Melkart became more than just a god of the sea. He was seen as a keeper of Malta's wildest creatures, the beasts that lived in caves and prowled the cliffs at night. These creatures, like the seven-headed serpent and the shadowy figures seen in the caves, were believed to be his servants, protecting the island and striking fear into those who dared to disturb them. Stories of Melkart's creatures filled the air, and children grew up hearing that to anger these beasts was to anger the god himself. Even now, when the wind whistles through a cave or a shadow moves on a cliffside, some still think it's Melkart's creatures, watching and waiting. The Carthaginians brought Baal, a god of thunder and storms. To the people of Malta, Baal's fury was felt in the lightning that lit up the night sky, and the thunder that shook their homes. Baal's power was said to be boundless, and his storms were a reminder of his presence, his strength, his might. Farmers and fishermen alike learned to respect Baal, praying for mercy when his storms tore across the island. Baal's energy was fierce, primal, and people saw his influence in the wild animals that roamed the island, the quick, elusive foxes and the fierce hawks that soared above, fierce and untamed, just like their god. Over time, these gods, once foreign, became a part of Malta's soul. The people took these figures and their myths, blending them with their own, until the gods were Maltese in spirit. Astarte, Melkart, Baal, they became part of Malta's heartbeat, woven into the land, the sea, the creatures themselves. These gods, though unseen, shaped Malta's people, teaching them respect for the land, a love for the wild, a reverence for the mysteries of life and death. Even today, as the world changes and time marches forward, the spirit of Malta's ancient gods lingers. The stories remain alive, whispered in the quiet moments, felt in the shadows, alive in the creatures and the land itself. For the people of Malta, these gods will never truly disappear. They are forever a part of the island, bound to its stones, its seas, its wild heart. Malta's gods are Malta's soul, eternal, fierce, and alive, as they have always been. As the sun dips low over the island of Gozo, casting long shadows across the ancient stones of the Gantija temples, it's as if the land itself is holding its breath. These stones are heavy with secrets, carved by hands long gone but remembered in whispers, a memory woven into the rock. For thousands of years, these temples have stood, massive and mysterious, defying any ordinary explanation. Some say they were built by giants, beings of unimaginable strength who roamed Malta long ago, leaving behind these silent monuments as proof of their power. The story goes that a giantess named Sansuna built the temples of Gantija with her own hands. They say she carried massive stones from across the island, balancing them on her head like they were pebbles, her steps echoing through the land with each heavy footfall. Legends say that Sansuna was a gentle giant, her heart as strong as her hands. She built these temples out of love for her child, pouring her strength, her spirit, her very soul into every stone. They say that even today, you can feel her presence in the temple, a mother's love forever imprinted in the ancient walls. But there are other stories too, darker, more mysterious. They say giants once walked the earth in Malta's earliest days, towering figures who ruled the island with strength and wisdom. People feared them but also admired them, feeling a strange kinship with these beings. It's said that the giants were not only powerful but also wise, guardians of ancient knowledge. They were protectors of the land, fierce yet fair, watching over the people with a quiet, unyielding strength. Children grew up hearing stories of these giants, believing they could still feel their presence in the hills, their shadows stretching across the land at dusk. As the years passed, the giants became legends, figures in bedtime stories and folk songs. But people never forgot them. Parents told their children to be careful around the Gantija temples, whispering that the spirits of the giants still linger there. Some said they had seen shadows moving between the stones at night, giant figures that appeared and disappeared with the wind. Others believed that the giants were watching over the island from afar, keeping it safe from harm. And though they were never seen, the feeling of being watched, of being protected, lingered in the hearts of the people. The stones of Gantija themselves are massive, larger than anything humans could lift. Standing before them, one can't help but feel a sense of awe, as if standing in the presence of giants. The stones, carefully arranged in circles and passages, hold a silence that's heavy, a reminder of something ancient and powerful. How could anyone have moved these stones? People look at them, and for a moment, they believe the stories, feel the giants' footsteps beneath their feet, echoing across time. Even today, the myth of the giants lives on in the island's soul. People still leave small offerings at the temples, a flower, a coin, a piece of bread, as if hoping to honor the ancient beings who once guarded the land. Children play near the stones, imagining the giants who might still be watching from somewhere beyond the horizon. And when storms roll in, with thunder rumbling across the island, people sometimes say it's the giants calling out, their voices deep and strong, reminding Malta that they are never truly gone. These temples, these stones, they are more than just rock and earth. They are a memory of giants who loved, who built, who watched over the island with hearts as big as the land itself. Malta remembers them, the giants who, in the island's oldest stories, gave shape to its very soul. And as long as the stones stand, so will their legacy, a silent testament to the strength and love of Malta's first guardians. They say that in the dark, hidden corners of Malta, there once slithered a creature so fearsome that even the bravest dared not speak of it above a whisper. This was no ordinary serpent, it was a creature of nightmares, a massive beast with 7 heads, each more terrifying than the last. This serpent, they say, had eyes that gleamed in the dark like cold, distant stars, each had a mind of its own, each mouth dripping with venomous fangs. To hear it hiss was to feel fear settle into your bones, as if the very ground beneath you trembled with dread. The 7-headed serpent, known as Iserp ta Saber-Rajus, became a legend, a figure woven into the oldest tales of Malta. In a land where the sea, the cliffs, and the caves all seem to hold secrets, the story of the serpent feels as natural as the island itself. Parents told their children tales of the monster that lurked in the shadows, warning them not to wander too far, not to venture into caves where the serpent might still be sleeping, waiting. It was said that if anyone looked into the eyes of the serpent, they would be cursed, drawn into a darkness from which they might never return. Yet, beneath the fear, the 7-headed serpent became something more, a symbol of strength and resilience. The 7 heads represented not just the monster's fearsome power but the spirit of Malta itself, an island that has endured so much, facing invaders and storms, hardship and fire, yet never bending, never breaking. People began to see the serpent not just as a monster to be feared, but as a creature to be respected, a reminder of their own inner strength. They say that each of the serpent's heads had a different personality, as if it were not one creature but 7 in one body. One head was cunning, with eyes that watched from the shadows, waiting for its prey. Another was fierce and aggressive, ready to strike without warning. One head was silent, as if pondering ancient thoughts, while another seemed almost sad, as though carrying the weight of forgotten memories. People believed that the 7 heads represented the different parts of the human spirit, the courage, the fear, the wisdom, the rage, the quiet, and the sorrow that we all carry within us. The 7-headed serpent was often depicted in art, carved into stone or painted in the vibrant colors of Malta's folk art. Its image was fierce yet beautiful, a symbol of the island's spirit. People began to wear talismans with the serpent's image, believing it would protect them from harm, keep them safe from danger, and give them the strength to face their own struggles. The serpent was a guardian and a challenge, a creature of darkness that reminded people of the light within themselves. It said that the serpent was once seen near the cliffs of Dingley, where it emerged from a cave with a hiss that shook the very air. Those who saw it say it was massive, its scales shimmering like polished stone, its 7 heads moving as one as it slid across the earth. But as quickly as it appeared, it vanished, slipping back into the shadows as if it were nothing more than a dark dream. People spoke of the encounter in hushed tones, their hearts pounding with fear and fascination. For those who believed, the serpent was not just a tale but a living creature, a spirit that walked the earth, part of the island's very soul. The legend of the 7-headed serpent continues to live on, a story passed down from one generation to the next. People remember it as a creature of terror but also of mystery and strength, a symbol of Malta's resilience, its ability to endure and overcome. The serpent reminds them that fear is part of life, that darkness exists, but within that darkness lies a beauty, a strength that makes them who they are. Malta and the 7-headed serpent are bound together, a myth and a land, each shaping the other in ways that words alone can't capture. And though the serpent may be hidden now, its spirit remains, alive in every heartbeat, every whisper, every shadow of Malta. When the sea stretches dark and endless around Malta, when the waves crash against the rocky shores, there's a haunting feeling that something else stirs beneath the surface. For centuries, fishermen, sailors, and those who dared venture far from land whispered of the creatures lurking in the depths. They called it Kbir el Bahar, the Great One of the Sea, a name that captured the power and mystery of Malta's waters. To speak of it brought both fear and reverence, for the sea, as beautiful as it was, could never be tamed, and neither could the creatures rumored to live within it. They say that in ancient times, sailors would see shadows just beneath the waves, massive shapes gliding silently, too large to be fish, too strange to be whales. Sometimes, the sea would grow still, the waves seeming to hesitate, and then a tail would rise, long and scaly, vanishing before anyone could fully understand what they had seen. Many claimed it was Khpur-i-el-Bahar, the creature that guarded the deep, a protector of the secrets held in the cold, dark waters. They believed it was as old as the island itself, a being that had watched over Malta since time began, bound to the waves and the winds, born of storms and shadows. But there were other stories too, tales of monsters that weren't so protective. Some spoke of serpentine beasts with jaws large enough to swallow a boat whole, their bodies lined with scales as hard as rock. Sailors claimed they'd seen tentacles reaching from the depths, wrapping around ship hulls, dragging men into the cold. These sea monsters, unlike Khpur-i-el-Bahar, seemed driven by hunger, shadows of the darkest parts of the sea. No one knew their names, only that they were ancient, born from the wildness of the Mediterranean, fierce and untamed. And they reminded everyone who sailed that the sea, vast and deep, held mysteries beyond human understanding. The people of Malta took these stories to heart. Children grew up hearing tales of Khpur-i-el-Bahar and the creatures that haunted the sea. Before fishermen set sail, they would look out over the water, murmuring a prayer to protect them from the beasts below. Some carried charms, carved from bone or shaped from sea-worn stones, hoping they would keep the monsters at bay. Families would gather along the shore, waiting, hearts tight with fear, for the boats to return, eyes scanning the waves for any sign of the creatures that lurked in the deep. Over time, these tales grew, weaving together with other Mediterranean myths. From the Greeks, the Romans, the Carthaginians, Malta absorbed stories of sea monsters, creatures like Scylla, with her snarling heads, and Charybdis, the whirlpool that swallowed ships whole. The Mediterranean was a cradle of legends, and Malta, at its heart, became a place where these stories lived and breathed. The islanders took these tales, adding to them, shaping them, until the monsters of the sea felt like part of Malta itself, creatures born from its own waves and winds. And then there were those who claimed they had encountered the great Khpur-i-el-Bahar face-to-face. These stories were rare, for few survived encounters with the beast. But every so often, someone would return, eyes wide with fear, speaking in hurried whispers of what they had seen. They would describe a creature of impossible size, a body that gleamed like polished stone, scales that shone in the moonlight, eyes dark and knowing. They would say that Khpur-i-el-Bahar was not like the other monsters. It was wise, old, powerful beyond comprehension. It moved with a grace that defied its size, slipping through the water as if it were part of it, a creature made of the sea itself. And as these stories spread, Khpur-i-el-Bahar became something of a guardian in the people's minds. Though fearsome, it was respected, almost loved, as if its presence was a reminder that Malta's people and the sea were bound together, protected by this ancient creature. The fishermen would say that if Khpur-i-el-Bahar watched over them, they would return safely. But if they angered the sea or forgot to respect its power, they might find themselves at the mercy of the other monsters, the hungry ones, the shadows that waited for those who forgot that the sea could never be controlled. As waves crash on Malta's shores today, as boats cut through the water, these tales still linger. The sea holds its mysteries close, keeping its creatures hidden beneath its endless surface. But to the people of Malta, Khpur-i-el-Bahar and the sea monsters are not just stories, they are a part of the island's pulse, as real as the salt in the air, as lasting as the waves that kiss the shores. And as long as Malta stands, the tales of the great sea beasts, protectors, and terrors of the depths will live on, as boundless as the sea itself. In the hidden caves of Malta, where shadows cling to every curve of stone and whispers echo long after the last footstep fades, they say dragons once stirred. These weren't the dragons of stories told elsewhere, fierce, winged beasts breathing fire and scorching villages. Maltese dragons were creatures of the earth, born from the island's rugged cliffs and sun-baked stones. Stories say they had scales like the limestone cliffs, wings that folded close like shrouds, and eyes that gleamed with the fire of Malta's sunsets. To stumble upon one in the quiet dark of a cave was to feel fear and awe, a reminder that Malta held more mysteries than its shores revealed. Generations of villagers told tales of the dragons, of creatures who guarded Malta's hidden treasures, spirits woven into the rock and soil of the island. Children would stand near the cave mouths, peering into the darkness, daring each other to venture just a bit further, to listen for the low growl that some claimed was the dragon breathing. Elders would warn them, saying these dragons were ancient beings, and to enter their world uninvited would be a mistake they might not live to regret. It was believed that these creatures slumbered deep within the earth, curled around the heart of the island itself, guarding secrets that went back to the beginning of time. Many believed that the dragons were protectors, guardians of the island's strength and spirit. People whispered that the dragons were bound to Malta, that they watched over it like silent, shadowy sentinels. They were a part of the island's soul, creatures that had seen empires rise and fall, had felt the footsteps of every civilization that set foot on Malta's shores. And in moments of great danger, when storms threatened to tear the island apart, some claimed to have seen shadows moving across the cliffs, glimpses of dragon-like shapes gliding through the mist, as if they were waking, stirred by the island's need. Some dragons, it was said, had wings as wide as a ship's sail, though they rarely used them. The wings would wrap around their bodies like shields, and only in the deepest, darkest caves would they stretch them out, revealing feathers or scales that shimmered in the faint light. Others were said to be serpent-like, sliding through the caves with a silent grace, their scales blending with the stone, as if they were part of the rock itself. In moments of stillness, some said you could hear a distant, low hum in certain caves, a sound that reverberated in your bones. That was the dragon's song, the heartbeat of the island itself. Dragons were more than creatures of strength, they were symbols of resilience, embodying Malta's spirit. People looked to them as reminders that even in times of hardship, they could endure, they could stand strong. The dragon was a symbol of courage, of fierce loyalty to one's home, a reminder that Malta, small as it might be, held a strength that could not be conquered. These creatures became part of the island's soul, representing the strength and endurance of its people, their quiet defiance against any threat. But these dragons, while revered, were not always seen as friendly protectors. They could be fierce, unpredictable, as wild as the storms that sometimes swept over the island. Some stories tell of villagers who ventured too far into forbidden caves, lured by promises of treasure, only to be met with the dragon's wrath. They would feel a gust of hot air, hear the rumbling growl, and see a flash of scaly hide before everything went dark. These stories reminded everyone that while the dragons were guardians, they were also forces of nature, to be respected, not challenged. The origin of these dragons in Malta's folklore is still a mystery, but some believe they may have roots in ancient cultures. Perhaps the early Phoenicians brought tales of great serpent-like beasts, creatures of earth and fire, or maybe the Romans spoke of dragons that lived in the far reaches of the empire. Over time, Malta made these dragons its own, creatures that felt as much a part of the island as the cliffs and caves. They became a symbol of the island's strength, a part of the folklore that shaped Malta's very heart. Even now, when people wander near the old caves, they feel a twinge of fear mixed with respect, as if the dragons might still be watching, waiting just out of sight. There's a sense that the dragons are there, part of the island's soul, reminders of the strength and mystery that Malta carries within itself. The legend of the Maltese dragon isn't just a story, it's a piece of the island's heartbeat, a symbol of a spirit that, like the dragon, refuses to be tamed. And in every shadow, every gust of warm wind near a cave, there's a sense that the dragons are there still, watching over the land they call home. When the desert winds sweep across Malta, carrying sand and heat from faraway lands, there's an unsettling feeling that stirs in the air. This wind is more than just weather, it brings with it a presence, an eerie reminder of something ancient and restless. To those who know the stories, it's not just a breeze, it's the arrival of a spirit feared for its power and darkness. They call it Pazuzu, a name whispered with caution, a name that once belonged to an ancient Mesopotamian demon and somehow found its way into the heart of Maltese folklore. Pazuzu is no ordinary spirit. They say he comes with the desert storms, a demon riding the winds, his presence hidden within the dry, heavy gusts that seem to pierce right through you. With a face twisted in a menacing grin, eyes hollow and black, wings that stretch wide and terrible, Pazuzu's form is said to flicker in the sand-laden winds. He comes from a world so ancient that it feels like he has walked through endless deserts, bringing fear wherever he goes. In the legends, his power is tied to sickness and misfortune, a shadow hanging over those who feel his chill. Stories tell of the days when the warm winds blow in from the Sahara, filling the sky with a strange yellow haze, blanketing Malta in an unnatural glow. During these times, people close their doors, pull their shutters tight, and keep their children indoors. For with that wind comes Pazuzu, his spirit moving invisibly through the air, bringing with him whispers of darkness. Farmers in particular are wary, for they believe Pazuzu holds sway over their crops and their livestock, that his spirit can touch and blight anything it pleases. He is like a poison in the air, a spirit who can bring sickness without warning, whose curse lingers long after the wind has passed. Mothers tell their children stories of Pazuzu, warning them to be wary when the desert winds blow. Don't stand too long in the breeze, they say, or Pazuzu will see you. Children hear these words and feel a shiver, looking over their shoulders as if expecting to see a shadow flicker in the distance. They learn early that the desert winds are not to be trusted, that the gusts carrying warmth from lands they cannot see may hide spirits they should never encounter. In Maltese homes, some hang protective charms, small tokens to ward off the demon's gaze, believing that Pazuzu can be kept at bay by symbols of faith and family. There are stories of those who claim to have seen Pazuzu, if only for a fleeting moment, and they carry those memories with them, like a curse. They describe a creature with a lion's fierce face, claws extended as if to strike, a form that shifts and sways like a shadow in the hot wind. They say he smells of ancient sand and something darker, something decayed and forgotten. Those who encounter him never feel quite the same afterward, as if his spirit left a mark on them, like an invisible scar. Some grow ill shortly after, others haunted by dark dreams of deserts and storms that they cannot escape, dreams where Pazuzu watches them with those empty eyes, that fierce, taunting smile. In some parts of Malta, people believe that Pazuzu isn't just a spirit of evil, he's also a reminder of the delicate balance between the seen and unseen worlds. The desert wind is powerful, relentless, capable of carving cliffs and drying out rivers, and it moves with a force that is impossible to stop. Pazuzu is thought to embody that raw, untamed power. Some call him a warning, a shadow from ancient times reminding them that the earth has its own spirits, ones that do not belong to human laws and that owe us nothing. To hear his name is to remember that there are forces beyond understanding, forces that pass through even the strongest walls and reach places we cannot hide from. And yet, Pazuzu is a part of life. When the wind blows hot and strange, people feel his presence and know he has always been there, moving through the air like a memory of things long past. Maltese superstition holds that, though he brings fear, Pazuzu is not entirely heartless. Some say that he will leave those alone who respect his presence, who understand that he is as much a part of the land as the soil and the sea. Farmers may leave a small offering when they feel his presence, a token of respect for the spirit on the wind, as if acknowledging Pazuzu might spare them from his wrath. When the winds settle, and the sand drifts back to wherever it came from, the island breathes a sigh of relief. The haze fades, the sky clears, and the people feel as if a weight has lifted. But even then, Pazuzu remains in their stories, a spirit they will speak of again and again, a presence they have come to know, as strange and as powerful as the wind itself. Long ago, in the shadowed caves that line Malta's cliffs, there were whispers of treasures beyond a person's wildest dreams, jewels that sparkled like stars, coins that glinted in the dark, and gold that seemed to hold a warmth all its own. But these treasures were no ordinary hoards, and they weren't left there by kings or pirates. They were guarded by the Ilgahar Talgar, the spirits of the caves, beings as old and silent as the rocks themselves. Anyone who stepped foot inside a cave knew they might be entering the presence of these spirits, creatures who watched over their hidden realms with a loyalty that ran as deep as the earth itself. Stories spread through villages of those who had entered these caves, only to be met with an eerie stillness. The air felt thicker, colder, almost alive. They spoke of feeling eyes on them, though there was no one there, of hearing a faint whisper in the depths, something calling, warning, or maybe even inviting them deeper. And yet, beneath the fear, there was a tantalizing allure, the promise of riches that could change a life in an instant, treasure that was just waiting, hidden behind walls of rock and shadow. But to take it meant facing the spirits themselves, guardians who did not part with their treasures easily. It was said that the Ilgahar Talgar were bound to their caves, existing in a space between the living and the unseen. Some imagined them as ghostly figures, pale and ancient, with eyes like the stones around them, watching in silence. Others described them as beings made of the earth itself, their forms shifting with the flickering shadows, as if they could disappear back into the rock at any moment. Some villagers claimed to have seen faint, glowing figures deep in the caves, like small, floating lights moving in and out of the darkness, guiding the way or warning trespassers to turn back. These were the spirits' true forms, they believed, guardians who would protect their treasures at all costs. Generations passed down stories of those who dared to enter these caves, seeking the wealth they believed lay within. Some never returned, lost forever to the darkness, perhaps punished by the spirits for their greed. Others came back with tales of strange voices, shadows that shifted, and paths that seemed to change as they moved deeper into the cave. They spoke of walls covered in faint etchings, symbols that looked like eyes, as if the rock itself was watching them. And those who claimed to have glimpsed the treasure, a shimmer of gold, the flash of a jewel, swore they felt the presence of the spirits more strongly, an almost tangible warning in the air. There was a saying among the villagers, "If the cave calls to you, be wary of what you desire." They knew that treasure in the caves came at a price, that the spirits guarded their hoards with a jealousy no human could match. But it wasn't just greed that the spirits punished, it was disrespect, arrogance, the refusal to acknowledge the power of their ancient watch. If one entered the caves with a humble heart, with respect for the guardians and a willingness to leave empty-handed, they might be spared. But to those who came with only the hunger for riches, the spirits could be ruthless. Some believed the treasure was a test, a lure set by the spirits to measure a person's character. Stories circulated of a young man who, overcome by hardship, entered the cave seeking fortune. As he moved deeper, he found a single gold coin lying on the ground, gleaming in the faint light that filtered through the cracks. The man knelt, reaching for it, only to feel a sudden chill, a cold whisper that ran down his spine. He hesitated, realizing that he was being watched, judged. And in that moment, he left the coin where it lay, turning back towards the entrance, feeling the spirit's eyes on him as he walked away. Later, his fortune changed. Some say he was rewarded by the spirits themselves, others believe that by resisting greed, he was blessed in other ways. Parents told their children of these stories, warning them to stay away from the caves unless they wanted to risk angering the spirits. The caves were more than places of mystery and treasure, they were sacred, connected to the island's soul, and the Ilgahar Talgar were the protectors of that legacy. It was as though the spirits were pieces of Malta itself, shaped by centuries of memories, carrying within them the island's history and the lives of those who had come before. Some villagers, with offerings of bread, wine, or salt, would quietly leave their gifts near the cave entrances, small acts of respect for the spirits within. They knew that even if they never saw the treasure, they were honoring something much greater, a connection to the island that ran through stone and shadow. To the Maltese, these cave spirits were reminders of a bond to the land, to a past older than memory, a bond not of ownership, but of reverence and humility. And so, the caves remained quiet, the treasures hidden, and the Ilgahar Talgar continued their watch, guardians of an ancient world where stone, spirit, and mystery were one and the same. Malta held its secrets closely, hidden in the silent darkness of its caves, treasures kept safe by the spirits who had always been there, waiting, watching, and remembering. In the quiet heart of Malta, hidden away from the eyes of ordinary people, there is a story that has passed down through generations, carried in whispers and hopeful sighs. They say there stands a tree unlike any other, the Sigrital Helshan, the tree of freedom. Ancient, powerful, and deeply rooted in the land, this tree is said to possess a magic so strong that it can lift curses, break chains, and bring peace to tormented souls. Those who seek it do so with longing, carrying burdens that have weighed on their shoulders for years, perhaps even lifetimes. This is a tree of hope, but only for those who believe deeply enough to hear its call. The Sigurtal Helshin is not just a myth, but a promise, whispered to the brokenhearted and the oppressed. People speak of it as if it were alive, as if it held the memories of those who had come to it, desperate for freedom from pain. Some say its branches stretch out like arms, comforting those who find it, its leaves soft as they brush against a troubled soul, offering solace where none had been found before. The bark is said to be warm to the touch, radiating a strength that seems to flow into anyone who reaches out, as if the tree itself understands the suffering it witnesses. Legends tell of those who sought the tree, each one carrying a different heartache. There was once a woman, they say, who had been haunted by a curse placed upon her family, a dark cloud that had followed her bloodline for generations. No matter where she went, or what she did, sorrow seemed to find her, clinging to her like a shadow. She had heard of the Sigurtal Helshin in her childhood, a story told by her grandmother in hushed tones, as if speaking it aloud would break its spell. With nothing left to lose, she journeyed across the island, driven by a belief that somehow this ancient tree could give her the peace that had eluded her family for so long. After days of wandering, she finally came upon a small grove, hidden from the world and filled with a strange, glowing light. There, in the center, stood the Sigurtal Helshin, its branches heavy with leaves that seemed to shimmer in the moonlight. She approached it slowly, her heart pounding, and placed her hand upon the bark. As she did, she felt a warmth spreading through her, filling her with a calm she had never known. Tears fell from her eyes as she felt the weight of generations lifting, a burden untangled from her soul. The curse that had clung to her family dissolved into the quiet night, leaving her with a sense of freedom so powerful it was like she had been given a new life. Others came to the tree not for themselves, but for the ones they loved. A father, with a son who had been sick since birth, climbed hills and crossed rivers, searching for the Sigurtal Helshin to plead for his child's health. His journey was long, and with each step, he whispered to the trees, the sky, and the wind, begging for a chance to reach the tree. He finally found it as the sun was setting, its branches stretching wide as if welcoming him. Kneeling beneath it, he held his son close and asked for a miracle, his voice trembling with the weight of his desperation. The leaves rustled softly above, and as he held his boy, he felt the warmth of the tree wrap around them both. In the days that followed, his son's health improved, a testament to the bond between a father's love and the ancient strength of the tree. The Sigurtal Helshin is a legend that promises freedom, not just from curses and sickness, but from the deepest heartaches. Lovers parted by war, friends torn apart by betrayal, people bound by the chains of oppression, all have sought out the tree, believing that in its presence, their chains would fall away. To some, it is a tree of forgiveness, offering peace to those who carry the pain of regret. To others, it is a sanctuary, a place where sorrows melt and where past mistakes are left behind. It is said that the tree blooms only for those with the truest of hearts, people who carry no malice, who come with nothing but their need for healing. When these people find the tree, they say its branches lower, as if bowing in understanding, and a soft light glows from its roots, like the gentle reassurance of a long-lost friend. For those who have found it, the Sigurtal Helshin is not just a source of magic, it is a reminder that there is always hope, even for the most wounded souls. It is a legend woven into the fabric of Malta's heart, carrying with it the voices of those who have walked away from it, changed forever. And so, people still seek it, despite the years, despite the whispers that it may be nothing more than a dream. They believe, as their ancestors did, that somewhere on this island, hidden and waiting, the Sigurtal Helshin stands tall, a silent witness to the power of hope, a gift for anyone who is willing to believe in its magic. On cold, moonlit nights when shadows stretch long across Malta's rugged landscape, villagers would speak of the Isle werewolf Malti, the Maltese werewolf. This creature wasn't like the legendary wolves of the northern woods, it was something stranger, something that seemed to belong to Malta itself. Those who claimed to have seen it would never forget. With fur as dark as the night sea and eyes that gleamed with a human sadness, it prowled the fields and winding paths, a cursed figure torn between two worlds. They say the werewolf's curse began generations ago, rooted in a tale of betrayal, anger, and an oath spoken under a blazing sun. Some believe it began with a farmer, an honest, hard-working man, who was deceived by those closest to him. Struck by betrayal, he made a promise, swearing he'd rather become a beast than live among deceitful hearts. In the silence that followed his words, a strange shadow passed over him, and he disappeared into the hills. From then on, a creature was spotted under the full moon, something that lurked at the edge of the fields, watching from the shadows, its human heart now bound in a body shaped by sorrow and rage. Farmers whispered of strange sightings at dusk when the sky burned red and the first stars emerged. They would see something moving among the trees, a figure with broad shoulders and limbs that seemed to shift between human and animal, always just beyond the reach of the firelight. Sometimes, they'd find paw prints larger than any wolf could leave, scattered across the soft earth. In the mornings, there were rumors of missing livestock, strange scratches on doors, and an unsettling quiet that seemed to settle over the village like a blanket of fear. Yet, the Maltese werewolf was different from other creatures of its kind. Those who claimed to have seen its eyes up close swore they saw not the wild hunger of a beast, but the haunted sorrow of a man, a creature that seemed to be trapped, longing for a life left behind. The people of Malta's rural communities came to fear this being, yes, but they also pitied it. It was as though the werewolf's curse was one of loneliness, a punishment for the bitterness that had twisted its soul. While it roamed freely by night, by dawn it would retreat to the dark, hidden places, taking with it the loneliness of an unlived life, forever separated from the warmth of human touch and the light of day. In time, tales of the Maltese werewolf grew, taking root in the community and becoming part of local customs and beliefs. People began marking their doors with protective symbols, drawing crosses in dust and placing sprigs of rosemary by the windowsills in hopes of keeping the creature at bay. Parents warned their children never to wander alone at night and to stay close to the hearth where the light was strongest. For many, the werewolf was a reminder of what could happen to a soul consumed by anger and isolation. But some said the curse of the Maltese werewolf could be broken if the creature found forgiveness. There were stories of young people who, feeling brave or desperate, would leave small gifts at the edges of the fields, a loaf of bread, a bowl of milk, or sometimes a simple stone with a carved symbol of peace. A few swore that these offerings brought peace to the werewolf, calming the fury in its heart, if only for a night. The creature's path would veer away from their homes, leaving them in peace until the next moonrise. These small acts of kindness were their way of trying to reach out, to touch the human heart that still beat somewhere inside the werewolf's chest. Over the years, the legend of the Maltese werewolf became not just a tale of fear, but one of empathy, a story woven with sadness and understanding. It reminded people of the dangers of letting hurt fester into bitterness, of how easily a person's own suffering could turn them into something unrecognizable, a stranger to themselves and their loved ones. Though many feared the werewolf's howl echoing in the stillness of the night, they also felt a pang of sorrow for it, as if knowing that its curse was as much a part of Malta's history as their own blood and bones. For the villagers, the werewolf was not just a creature to be feared, but a haunting symbol, a reminder of old promises, broken bonds, and the hope that even the most lost among them could one day find their way back to the light. And on nights when the moon was full, and shadows danced across the hills, people kept their families close, whispering prayers that both they and the werewolf could find peace. The Gardalum Cave, dark and still, has held its secrets in silence for centuries. To those who know it well, it's more than a cave, it's a place of lingering whispers, a shadowed world where time itself feels lost. And within this quiet, something else waits. Locals call it the Gardalum Shadow, a being as old as the cave itself, a creature shaped by mystery and darkness. They say the shadow is as much a part of the cave as the rocks or the air, something woven into the very earth. Hunters and explorers who ventured too deep would sometimes return pale and shaken, their faces hollow, as though they had seen something that no words could describe. Stories tell of footsteps in the darkness, soft but unmistakable, an eerie rhythm that follows you, even when the path seems empty. Those who have felt its presence say that the shadow moves with a purpose, as if bound to protect something sacred, something hidden within the cave's depths. For the people of Malta, Gardalum has always been more than just an ancient formation. It's a place where the past breathes, where the bones of animals from another age lie undisturbed, telling stories of forgotten worlds. The cave holds the bones of long-extinct creatures, memories from a time before humans walked the land. The people say that perhaps it was the presence of these ancient remains, these echoes of distant ages, that called the shadow into being. In their minds, the shadow is an ancient guardian, one that keeps watch over the history entombed within Gardalum's walls. But this guardian is no friendly spirit. The Gardalum shadow is restless, drawn to any who enter its dark domain. Those who linger too long claim to feel a coldness creep over them, an unshakable feeling that they are being watched. In the deepest reaches of the cave, where light barely penetrates, there are whispers of the shadow appearing as a tall, dark figure, its shape barely visible against the rocky walls. Some say its form changes, like smoke taking shape, eyes gleaming briefly before melting back into the darkness. Parents once told their children never to wander near Gardalum at dusk, warning that the shadow could mistake them for intruders, for threats to its ancient peace. Some villagers would swear that, on nights when the wind was quiet and the moon hung low, you could hear soft cries coming from the cave, faint sounds that carried sadness and something darker, something older. They were said to be the whispers of the shadow itself, mourning or warning, as if forever caught between worlds, bound to its role as guardian. For those who lived close to the cave, the Gardalum shadow was more than myth. Farmers would leave offerings by the entrance, small tokens like bread, fruit, or wine, hoping to earn the shadow's goodwill, to show respect to the guardian of their history. These offerings were placed with reverence, a way of saying that they, too, honored the ancient past the shadow protected. Over time, these gestures became rituals, with locals passing down the practice from one generation to the next, each believing that showing respect to the shadow would protect them in turn. Some stories tell of travelers who ignored the warnings, who ventured into the cave after dark and came face to face with the shadow. One tale speaks of a young man who entered Gardalum on a dare, laughing off the warnings of his elders. As he ventured deeper, a strange silence fell around him, thick and heavy. He felt a chill in the air, like icy fingers tracing down his spine. And then, in the faint torchlight, he saw it, a figure, darker than the shadows around it, standing just beyond his reach. The man felt a terror so profound that he couldn't move, as if the shadow had wrapped him in a spell. When he finally stumbled out of the cave, his laughter was gone, replaced by a silence that followed him for the rest of his life. In the end, the Gardalum shadow is a symbol, a haunting reminder of Malta's history, of the land's secrets that lie buried and protected. It is a story that speaks of the bond between people and the earth, a bond that carries both respect and fear. For those who listen, the shadow is a warning, a reminder of the fragility of life and the weight of the past. And as long as the cave stands, silent and unchanging, the people will continue to tell its story, honoring the mystery that lies within. On quiet nights in Malta, when the streets of the three cities grow silent, a sense of something lingering fills the air, something that feels older than the stones underfoot. These cities, Vittoriosa, Sanglia, and Cospicua, hold more than just history, they hold the echoes of lives touched by battle, bravery, and a longing that stretches beyond life itself. Here, amid walls that once stood against great sieges, are whispers and shadows, souls of those who fought and loved and lost, who seem unable to leave these hallowed grounds. The three cities, with their narrow alleyways and ancient fortifications, have been witness to some of Malta's fiercest battles. Generations of defenders braved invaders, and families huddled together under the thunder of cannons, praying for morning light. It is said that some of those who perished in defense of these walls never truly left. Stories tell of a woman in white who roams the ramparts of Vittoriosa, her figure seen only as a fleeting glow beneath the moonlight. They say she is waiting, that she is bound by love or perhaps by a promise she made to her beloved, a promise she never had the chance to fulfill in life. In Sanglia, there are tales of the soldier who waits. Residents speak of a lone figure, clad in the armor of an ancient knight, who stands as if on watch at one of the city's highest vantage points. Those who have seen him say his face is hidden, a ghostly figure silhouetted against the night sky. He is thought to be one of Malta's forgotten defenders, a soldier whose spirit refuses to abandon his post, even after centuries. Those who come too close have felt a chill, a haunting reminder that he remains there, steadfast and resolute, guarding his city even as it sleeps. Conspicua holds a different kind of memory. Here, among its oldest buildings, locals tell of a child's laughter that drifts through the air long after dark. This isn't the joyful sound of a living child, but something softer, as if coming from a faraway place. Some say this is the spirit of a young boy who lived during one of Malta's darkest sieges. He perished alongside his family, and now his spirit lingers, a lonely soul who never grew up, his laughter both innocent and haunting. Those who hear it are often struck by a bittersweet sadness, reminded of a life cut tragically short, a small life that never had the chance to blossom. The spirit stories of the three cities do not end there. In the depths of Vittoriosa's old prison, whispers of those once confined to its dark cells seem to linger in the silence. During Malta's turbulent history, countless souls were taken here, condemned to live their last days in isolation. They say that sometimes, in the stillness, you can hear faint murmurs, echoes of prayers, and quiet sobs, as if the spirits of those prisoners are still seeking peace. Some have felt a sudden coldness in these corridors, as if a hand had brushed by, an invisible presence reaching out in a last plea to be remembered. The people of the three cities have come to respect these spirits, recognizing them as part of their heritage. Many who walk these streets at night say a quiet prayer or touch the cool stone walls, hoping to ease the restless spirits that call this place home. The spirits are woven into the lives of those who live here. They are the souls of the soldiers, lovers, children, and prisoners whose last thoughts, final hopes, and deepest fears are now bound to these ancient walls. Even today, the spirits of the three cities linger at the edge of sight, an eternal presence that stirs emotions too strong to fade. Their stories are passed down in whispers, their memories cherished in hearts that beat where theirs once did. And under the silent watch of the moon, they remain guardians and companions, shadows that speak of love, duty, loss, and an unending connection to the land they loved so dearly. In the heart of Medina, Malta's ancient city of silent, narrow streets and towering stone walls, a shadowed tale lingers, one that has haunted the alleys and echoed through generations. Locals speak in hushed voices of a woman known only as the Witch of Medina, a figure woven deeply into the island's history, yet shrouded in an air of fear and mystery that seems untouched by time. Once, in a century-long past, a woman arrived in Medina, a stranger whose name history has erased. She was known only for her piercing eyes, said to be as dark as the Maltese night, and her whispers that seemed to carry secrets few could comprehend. To some, she was simply a healer, one who seemed to possess knowledge that could mend wounds, soothe fevers, and ease the suffering of those in pain. To others, though, her power was far darker. People spoke of strange herbs, of rituals performed in the dead of night, of unexplainable occurrences in the city that seemed to follow her every step. The whispers grew into rumors, and the rumors turned into stories, of curses placed upon those who crossed her, of inexplicable ailments that seemed to plague those who mocked her gifts. Medina's walls held her secrets tightly, but the townspeople held onto her tale just as fiercely. They said her spells could call the wind, that her words carried the power to heal or harm. The children of Medina grew up with warnings from their parents, told never to wander the streets alone after sunset, for fear of crossing paths with the witch. As the tale spread, the fear surrounding her presence deepened. Some of the most chilling stories spoke of how she haunted those who wronged her, sending visions and terrors into the minds of those who dared to question her power. The residents of Medina whispered of men who had fallen sick, their strength draining as they claimed to see her shadow flicker through their rooms, a faint whisper of her curse as they lay in fevered dreams. But not all were afraid. There were some, the vulnerable and the desperate, who sought her out, slipping through Medina's narrow streets under the cover of night to beg for her help. Mothers holding their feverish children, lovers fearful of losing one another, young men and women afraid of failing their families, all made their way to her. And for them, she was not the witch others feared, but a woman of wisdom, a healer who asked nothing in return but silence. Over time, her story twisted further. The church saw her power as a threat, a woman unbound by the laws of men and, in their eyes, of God. And so, her fate was sealed in shadows and silence. They say she was cast out, or worse, that she was silenced forever by those who wished to end her influence. Yet, even in her absence, her spirit never truly left Dinah. On quiet nights, locals say they feel a chill in the air, as if her presence still lingers, drifting through the alleys she once walked. Today, those who roam Dinah's cobbled streets often feel a sense of unease, a feeling that cannot be explained by the walls alone. They say if you listen closely, the wind carries her voice, faint but insistent, her spirit roaming the city she once called home. Parents still warn their children to be cautious, not out of fear alone, but perhaps out of a lingering respect for the woman who defied the odds, who lived and fought her way through life, leaving behind a legacy of both terror and hope. The Witch of Dinah remains a part of the city's heartbeat, a reminder of a time when fear and reverence walked hand in hand, bound by the shadows of Malta's ancient stones. And though her name has been lost, her story lives on, told by those who still feel her spirit watching over the city, a figure of mystery and resilience who refuses to be forgotten. In Malta, among its ancient stones and forgotten corners, stories are told of the Lelitalkanti, ethereal guardians believed to watch over the souls resting in the island's burial grounds. These guardians are not mere phantoms, they are figures of compassion, spirits entrusted with the task of protecting the dead, of keeping them company, and, perhaps, guiding them through the shadows of the afterlife. The Maltese people speak of them with a mixture of reverence and fear, as though acknowledging both the beauty and the solemnity of their eternal vigil. Burial grounds in Malta are sacred, places where the past and present seem to touch, and where life is remembered, cherished, and mourned. It is believed that, in their quiet sleep, the souls of the deceased are watched over by the Lelitalkanti. These guardians are said to be gentle spirits, whose purpose is not to haunt but to hold vigil, ensuring that no soul is left alone, especially in the vulnerable transition from life to whatever lies beyond. Some say that these spirits were once people themselves, individuals who led lives of kindness, devotion, and care. Others whisper that the Lelitalkanti are timeless beings, existing solely for this sacred duty. The role of these guardians holds a powerful place in Maltese tradition. In the evenings, when the air grows heavy and the silence around the burial sites becomes almost palpable, people feel that they are not entirely alone. Many who visit these places bring small offerings or say quiet prayers, not just for the deceased but also in respect for the guardians who watch over them. It is a practice that stems from generations, a gesture that acknowledges the unseen presence standing between the living and the dead, a silent protector who ensures peace and respect. These beliefs are deeply rooted in Maltese burial traditions, where families honor their loved ones not just by marking their graves, but by regularly visiting, sharing stories, and even holding vigils on special nights. The Lelitalkanti are woven into these acts of remembrance. In the stillness of the night, some say they have felt a comforting hand on their shoulder, a light but undeniable touch. Others claim to have seen shadows moving, not with menace, but with a calm purpose, a reminder that these spirits are there, watching and caring. The presence of the Lelitalkanti has shaped the way the Maltese view death and the afterlife. In their minds, death is not a solitary journey but one accompanied by these faithful guardians. People believe that, while the body may rest in the ground, the soul is never abandoned. There is comfort in knowing that, even in death, one does not face the unknown alone. And this belief, this hope, has eased the grief of countless families, giving them a sense of peace, knowing that their loved ones are cared for in ways that transcend human understanding. Over time, stories have grown around the Lelitalkanti, each one adding a layer to the mystery and reverence surrounding these guardians. Elders recount tales of farmers who worked near the burial grounds and witnessed lights dancing softly above the graves, or travelers who felt a sudden sense of peace as they passed by these places. For some, these experiences are more than just stories, they are moments that feel like a brush with something sacred, a reminder that love and duty can endure even beyond death. To the Maltese, the Lelitalkanti are more than folklore. They are an embodiment of a deep, unspoken hope, that compassion exists beyond life, that there is a presence watching, a guide that ensures that every soul, no matter how humble or forgotten in life, finds rest in death. Their story is passed down from generation to generation, each one sharing the same sense of quiet awe, and understanding that these guardians are a part of Malta's heart, a reflection of the island's respect for the past, for memory, and for the mysteries of the spirit. In honoring the Lelitao Kanti, the people of Malta honor all those who have gone before, keeping their memory alive not just in words but in the silent belief that, somewhere out there, they are not alone. And with each prayer whispered over a grave, with each candle left flickering in the night, Malta pays its respects to these timeless guardians, whose duty stretches beyond the reach of time, watching over the island and the souls who loved it. In the hushed whispers of Maltese villages, there lives a tale that has haunted the hearts of many, a story of a woman forever trapped between two worlds, cursed to roam as part human, part serpent. They call her the cursed snake woman, and her image lingers in the minds of those who hear of her fate, a creature torn between her past and her monstrous, unnatural present. People speak of her with both pity and fear, her story a grim reminder of choices gone terribly wrong, a warning handed down through generations. They say she was once a beautiful woman, someone who held the admiration and envy of many. But her beauty carried a price. Some claimed she was vain, others whispered that she was greedy, and a few murmured even darker suspicions. She was said to have disobeyed sacred laws, testing the boundaries of her mortal life, tempted by wealth and selfish desires. Perhaps it was her disregard for kindness, or her lack of respect for others, that caused her to drift from the path of goodness. The elders believed she ignored the simple values of humility, and that was her downfall. As the story goes, one fateful day, her heartlessness reached its peak, and it triggered a transformation unlike any other. She began to feel strange, an itch that traveled over her skin and into her bones. Her legs twisted and coiled together, her skin took on a cold, scaly sheen, and the lower half of her body transformed into that of a serpent. She tried to scream, but her voice came out as a hiss, her tongue forked and flicking. Her beauty faded to something grotesque, her face a painful reminder of the woman she once was, but with eyes that gleamed with the hunger of a snake. She had become the cursed snake woman, an eternal warning for those who walked her path of pride and cruelty. To this day, many believe that the cursed snake woman lurks in the dark corners of Malta, hiding in shadows, watching from caves, perhaps even from beneath the surface of the ground. Some claim that if you walk near the old stone walls of certain villages, you can feel her eyes on you, an unblinking, reptilian stare that chills the soul. It is said that those who stray too close to the places she haunts are sometimes lured by a soft, hypnotic song, calling them into darkness, a warning to stay away. And those who hear it know all too well, the snake woman has found them. Parents tell this story to their children, especially as they grow into adulthood, as a reminder to stay humble, to act with kindness, to honor the virtues that the snake woman disregarded. They warn them never to be lured by greed or to act with selfishness, for fear that they, too, could fall under the same dark spell. The villagers' voices soften when they speak of her, a woman who, in her heartlessness, lost her very humanity, cursed to slither through eternity as a cold and pitiless creature. Some older residents share their own eerie encounters, swearing they caught a glimpse of her serpent tail disappearing into the shadows or saw her glinting eyes watching from the darkness. A few say they heard her voice, a sound like wind through dried leaves, mournful yet hollow, echoing through the caves. Those who have seen her never forget the feeling, the terror and sadness that hangs around her like a shroud, a reminder of how she had lost herself, trapped in a monstrous body that holds her tightly, just as her curse binds her to the island. Her tale is told not just as a story, but as a lesson. Each telling of her story is a reminder that choices have consequences, that the heart must be watched carefully, nurtured with compassion. To the people of Malta, the cursed snake woman's tragedy is a reminder that humanity is fragile, that it can slip away if one lets their heart grow too cold. And so, the story continues, passed down through families as they gather around the warmth of a fire, told in whispers on dark nights. The legend of the cursed snake woman remains, like a lingering shadow on the island, a part of Malta's memory, a story that warns every listener to treasure their humanity and to treat it with the care and humility that the woman in the tale once lacked. In the quiet, moonlit nights over Marsaxlokk Bay, there are stories of a ship that shouldn't be there. The waters are still, the only sounds are gentle waves licking the rocky shore, and the fishing boats moored in the calm. But sometimes, when the fog rolls in and the moon is cloaked in a haze, locals swear they see it, a ghostly vessel gliding across the bay, silent and shadowy, with its dark sails billowing in a wind that doesn't exist. This ship is no ordinary ghost story. For generations, fishermen and villagers have whispered about the apparition that appears as if summoned from the depths of Malta's past. They say it looks like a pirate ship, one from an age when corsairs ruled these waters and the bay was a staging ground for fearsome fleets. Marsaxlokk Bay, now a peaceful fishing village, once held secrets of ruthless seafarers, their ships laden with stolen riches and their hearts hardened by countless acts of plunder. The ghostly vessel that appears in these waters is said to be one of those pirate ships, forever cursed to wander. The legend has it that the crew of this ship was among the most feared in the Mediterranean. They were pirates without mercy, raiders of the coastlines, taking whatever they pleased and leaving villages in ruin. They brought terror to everyone who lived near the shore, haunting the hearts of those who feared a life at sea. But they were more than just cruel. They were said to be reckless in their desecration of holy sites, looting churches, and casting sacred relics into the ocean to mock those they had plundered. Their captain was a man whose heart, they say, was as black as the ocean at midnight. His cruelty knew no bounds, and he was said to have made a pact with darker forces, sealing his fate and that of his crew. One night, as their ship lay anchored in Marsaxlokk Bay, a violent storm erupted. The waves were monstrous, crashing against the cliffs and tearing into the vessel as if the sea itself had come alive to punish them. Lightning cracked open the sky, illuminating the horror on board. The crew fought against the storm, their faces twisted with terror, realizing that perhaps their time had come. Some even whispered that they could see shadows rising from the waves, the spirits of those they had wronged coming to claim their souls. Despite all efforts to escape, their ship was dragged under, swallowed by the bay in a final, thunderous roar. Now, centuries later, some say they see that same ship rise from the depths on nights when the mist is thick and the moon hides its face. The vessel emerges in silence, its outline faint, yet unmistakably solid against the shimmering water. Those who claim to have seen it speak of the eerie sight of ghostly figures on the deck, shadows of a long-dead crew going about their cursed work, trapped forever in their endless pursuit of riches that are no longer within their grasp. Fishermen, especially the older ones, tell tales of cold winds that arise from nowhere when they are out on the water. Some have heard the faint, chilling sounds of chains dragging and ghostly whispers carried over the waves, voices too quiet to understand, yet filled with unmistakable sorrow and regret. A few have dared to approach the phantom ship, to draw closer in hopes of seeing it more clearly, only to have it vanish like a mirage, leaving them with an unnatural chill that seeps deep into their bones. The villagers have long believed that this ship appears as a warning, a reminder of a time when Malta's waters were a place of danger, where the boundaries between life and death were thin. Some say that the spirit of the captain himself is still bound to the ship, unwilling to let go of his hunger for gold, cursed to sail until he finds redemption, something that seems as distant as the stars in the night sky. Others believe the appearance of the ghost ship is a foretelling, a sign of misfortune to come for those who ignore the lessons of the past. In the fishing families, it is said that those who see the ship should throw a coin into the bay, an offering to appease the restless souls on board. This tradition, followed by generations, is a plea for peace, a gesture of respect to these trapped spirits so that they may continue their journey without drawing the living into their eternal punishment. Children grow up with these stories, knowing that the waters of Marsaxlokk Bay are more than they seem, that the sea remembers everything and keeps its secrets close. Every sighting of the ghost ship rekindles old fears and wonder, casting Marsaxlokk Bay in an eerie, almost sacred light. The thought of that lost crew, endlessly repeating their actions from a lifetime ago, lingers in the minds of those who hear the tale. And so, the legend of the ghost ship of Marsaxlokk Bay remains, drifting through the hearts of the people like a specter, just as that haunted vessel drifts silently over the waves, a ghostly reminder of the darkness that once lurked beneath the surface. In the silence of Maltese nights, there is a soft, steady presence that watches over villages and homes. It's not a guard at the gate, nor a loyal pet waiting at the door. It's an owl, the Tazuntir, its quiet wings stretching across the sky as it circles above rooftops, watching, guarding. For centuries, families have whispered that this owl is no ordinary creature, but a silent guardian, a bringer of protection in the night. The Tazuntir is more than just a bird. It's a symbol of safety in the unknown hours when shadows stretch long, and the world feels a little less certain. With its large, knowing eyes that see all, it is thought to spot dangers long before they reach those it guards. In Maltese folklore, to have an owl near your home is considered a blessing, an assurance that the unseen spirits of night will bring no harm. Long ago, families would gather at dusk, lighting lamps and closing doors to keep out the chill. But they always left a small window open, a symbolic gesture to welcome the watchful owl. Elders would tell the children, if the Tazuntir is near, rest easy. Even in their earliest years, children learned to love the soft coo and steady gaze of this bird, its very presence a comfort against the unknown. The Tazuntir, however, isn't merely a protector against physical threats. The Maltese believe it has the power to shield families from misfortune, illness, and sorrow. Many stories are told of families struck by hard times, only for a white owl to appear on a nearby tree or rooftop. They say that after its visit, misfortune lessens and life returns to peace. The owl's watchful presence is a balm for the heart, its call in the night a song that speaks of safety and resilience. In villages where folklore runs deep, there is a saying, an owl's eyes see more than the moon. This idea goes beyond simple protection. It suggests that the Tazuntir sees into the hearts of those it protects, sensing their fears, knowing their burdens. It watches over not only their bodies but their souls. For those who have lost loved ones or find themselves in troubled times, it is the owl that offers solace, its shadow on the ground a reminder that someone, somewhere, is looking out for them. The superstitions surrounding owls in Malta are unique. Unlike many places where the owl is seen as a harbinger of doom or death, the Tazuntir is embraced with reverence. Some say this is because of the way it appears, quiet, gentle, and yet unmistakable. Its flight is so silent that it often goes unseen, gliding under moonlight, its feathers blending with the night sky. And in this silence, Maltese families find comfort, knowing that even in their darkest hours, the owl is near, hovering like an unspoken promise. There's a beautiful custom that comes with the owl's presence. When an owl is seen perched on a house, the family takes it as a sign of luck and blessing. Some even leave a bowl of water by the doorstep as an offering, a small gesture to show gratitude. This simple act, passed down through generations, is one of love and mutual respect, a family's thanks for the protection they believe the owl brings. Children, too, are taught about the Tazuntir from an early age. Parents tell them stories of the owl swooping down to carry away nightmares, taking them high into the night, far from the dreams of the innocent. With each story, the children fall asleep a little easier, dreaming under the safe wings of the protector owl. In recent times, as the world changes, the presence of the Tazuntir is celebrated more than ever. Owls are now cherished in Maltese art, poems, and stories, symbolic of resilience and protection against an increasingly uncertain world. To see an owl, even today, brings comfort, connecting the modern world with a past filled with wonder and faith. Whether it appears to an elder passing along stories or to a child frightened of the dark, the Tazuntir's silent, watchful gaze has not lost its power to soothe. In this quiet companionship between humans and a simple night creature, there lies a deep, unspoken promise. The Tazuntir will always keep watch, protecting against what cannot be seen, its wings a soft, steady shield over Malta's rooftops and its people. Through winds and whispers of the night, it remains a faithful guardian that asks for nothing, offering everything in return. Out on the jagged coast of St. Paul's Island, where waves relentlessly crash against the rocks, there lingers a presence. It's something felt more than seen, a watchful energy that seems woven into the air itself. They say it's the spirit of St. Paul, still lingering, still guiding those who come near the place where he once found himself after a violent storm. In the early morning light or under the pale moon, many have sworn they've felt his presence, an aura that calms and quiets the soul. It's said that in the year 60 AD, Paul's ship was thrown off course by a fierce Mediterranean storm, destined to shatter against the Maltese shores. As the skies darkened and the waves rose like mountains around them, the passengers feared the end was near. But Paul, who was bound as a prisoner, spoke to those with him, offering calmness in the face of their terror. And when they were cast ashore, landing on what is now called St. Paul's Island, Paul saw Malta as no prison but as a place of purpose. Through generations, the Maltese have honored this memory, preserving the island as a sacred place, not just for its historical significance, but for the spirit that is said to linger there. In the stories that have traveled down through time, Paul's spirit appears as a figure of warmth and light, like a silent guardian of the island. Fishermen out at sea on stormy nights whisper that they have felt an unearthly calm at the mere sight of St. Paul's Island, as if an unseen hand is guiding them safely back to shore. Perhaps it is the island's quiet solitude or the way the waves seem to soften as they approach its shores, but there is a sense of reverence around this place. Families come to St. Paul's Island not just to honor a saint, but to connect with a spirit of hope, a reminder of a story that speaks to their history and their hearts. In the rough embrace of the sea and the rugged stones of the island, they feel Paul's strength, his courage, and his unwavering faith. Stories of miraculous encounters at St. Paul's Island are passed from one generation to the next. Some speak of seeing a figure near the shore, dressed in ancient robes, a light flickering around him as he stands still, as if in prayer. Others say they have felt a presence when praying there, a comforting warmth that settles like a cloak around their shoulders. These stories, whether whispered by old sailors or spoken by families after returning from the island, always echo with the same sentiment, a belief that St. Paul himself watches over the island, a guardian spirit for the people who come to pay their respects. Children in Malta learn early about the day Paul arrived. They are told how he brought not only words, but hope to the people of Malta, how he healed and blessed them. When young Maltese visit the island, they feel they are touching a part of history that lives and breathes. And when they look out over the waters, they know they are standing in a place where faith stood unshaken, a place where Paul himself once knelt and prayed. The story of Paul's time on Malta is not simply one of survival, it's one of transformation. The island's people, who once viewed strangers with suspicion, found themselves embracing a man who spoke of peace and compassion. The legacy he left is etched in Maltese hearts, the belief that, like Paul, they are protected, watched over, and guided by a force greater than themselves. In the early morning, when the mist clings low over the island and the first rays of sun brush its edges, there's a quiet sense of something holy. Those who visit often say they feel as though the veil between worlds is thin here, as though if they listen closely, they might hear the faint sound of ancient prayers carried on the breeze. There's a belief that St. Paul's spirit blesses the island still, offering protection not just to the land, but to all who find their way to its shores, just as he once did. For the people of Malta, St. Paul's Island isn't just a landmark, it's a place of sacred memory. In the timeless crash of the waves and the whisper of the wind, his spirit lingers, guiding, comforting, and reminding all who come near of the strength that lies in faith and the peace that can be found, even in the roughest storms. In the quiet shadows that fall over Rabat, travelers tell of nights when the air itself seems to tremble. It begins with the faintest sound, a distant, rhythmic beat against the earth, almost like a heartbeat but steadier, firmer, building until the ground seems to pulse beneath one's feet. This is no ordinary night in Rabat. This is the hour when the ghostly horses appear, their forms shrouded in mist, their hooves pounding against an unseen road, carrying the weight of stories as old as the land itself. Locals will tell you that these horses are not of this world. They say these specters gallop across the countryside under the pale light of the moon, their forms half hidden in shadows, their eyes glinting with a silent, haunting wisdom. Some who have seen them speak of majestic stallions with coats as dark as midnight, racing through the open fields, their manes flowing like streams of darkness behind them. Others swear that they have seen proud war horses, their spirits still fierce and undaunted, charging into battles long forgotten by time. To stand by the roads of Rabat on one of these rare nights is to feel the air grow thick with the presence of these spectral beasts, each of them racing through a moment that once was, a memory replaying itself for eternity. In Maltese culture, horses have always held a special place, seen as both loyal companions and powerful symbols of courage and freedom. Centuries ago, horses were not only beasts of burden but noble allies in the lives of those who tilled the fields, carried goods, and went to battle. It's said that every horse that served with loyalty and bravery was blessed by the people, honored in spirit long after it had galloped into the next world. And perhaps that's why these phantom horses continue to appear, drawn back to the land that loved them and honored them. Many elders in Rabat remember hearing the tales of their grandparents, stories of how the phantom horses would appear during difficult times, a famine, a drought, or when war cast its shadow over the land. They would appear as if to remind the people of Rabat of the resilience woven into their history, of the strength and nobility that courses through their blood. These horses, people say, carry with them the souls of warriors and workers, figures whose lives were bound to the land and who refused to leave it, even in death. One tale that stirs the heart is that of a young woman named Lydia who, years ago, encountered these ghostly horses on a night when she felt lost, searching for guidance. Heartbroken and alone, she had wandered the fields outside Rabat, drawn by a pull she could not explain. As she stood by the ancient road, the silence broke, the soft echo of hooves reached her ears. She looked up, and there, emerging from the mist, was a spectral white mare, its gentle eyes filled with an ancient understanding. For a moment, Lydia felt an overwhelming sense of calm, as though the horse knew her pain and was there to bear witness. The creature lingered, watching her, as if offering a silent blessing, before it turned and vanished back into the mist, leaving her with a heart lighter and a spirit renewed. Stories like these remind the people of Rabat that the horses are more than just legends, they are symbols of hope and resilience, reminders that the spirits of the past are never truly gone. Some say these horses appear to protect travelers, guiding those who find themselves lost, lending them the strength to continue on their way. There are accounts of weary travelers, overcome by fatigue, who felt a sudden energy surge within them after hearing the distant sound of hooves, pushing them forward as though a guardian rode alongside them. There are countless theories about who these horses were in life. Some say they are the steeds of knights who defended Malta from invaders, others claim they are the beloved workhorses of farmers whose souls refused to leave the land they loved. One thing remains constant across every telling: these phantom horses are not here to frighten, but to remind the living of the enduring spirit of Malta. They carry with them memories of loyalty, strength, and sacrifice, urging the people of Rabat to honor their heritage and to walk forward with courage, no matter what storms life brings. And so, on those rare nights when the sound of ghostly hoofs fills the air, when the mist seems to part as if clearing the way for something unseen, those who hear it stand quietly, filled with reverence. The horses pass, unseen but felt, like whispers from a time long past. And as they fade into the night, those who bear witness are left with a lingering sense of pride, a quiet resolve, as if blessed by the spirits of Malta's past. On the serene shores of Gozo, where the sun kisses the sea and the wind whispers secrets of old, a haunting melody can sometimes be heard drifting through the air. It's a song so beautiful that it pulls at the heartstrings, weaving its way into the minds of those who hear it. Many have said it is the voice of a siren, a mystical creature said to dwell in the crystal-clear waters surrounding the island. The Siren of Gozo is a legend that enchants the imagination and stirs the soul, echoing tales that stretch back to ancient Greece and beyond. The siren is not just a figure of folklore, she embodies the beauty and danger of the sea. With flowing hair like the waves and eyes that shimmer like the brightest stars, she is both alluring and terrifying. Fishermen, drawn to her enchanting song, have reported tales of being lured away from their boats, entranced by her voice. But those who have ventured too close have often faced dire consequences, lost to the depths, becoming part of the siren's tragic melody. Gozo's siren is said to sing at twilight, when the day's light begins to fade into darkness, casting a magical glow over the water. Those lucky enough to be on the beach at that hour often find themselves captivated by the haunting beauty of her song. The sound is unlike anything else, a blend of sorrow and longing, echoing the mysteries of the sea and the lost souls who wander its depths. It calls to those with dreams unfulfilled, to hearts yearning for something more, making them forget their fears and struggles. This legend resonates deeply with the people of Gozo, weaving itself into their culture and beliefs. The siren represents not only the allure of the sea but also the dangers that come with it. She is a reminder of the power of nature and the respect it commands. Fishermen often share stories of close calls and miraculous escapes, attributing their survival to the siren's protective nature. It is said that while she may lure some to their doom, she also watches over those with pure intentions, guiding them safely home. Many believe that the Siren of Gozo is a spirit of a woman who once lived on the island, a tragic figure whose love for a sailor was never returned. Heartbroken, she cast herself into the sea, becoming one with the waves. Her sorrow transformed her into the siren, forever singing her lament for the love she lost. This story resonates with many who have experienced heartache, making the siren a symbol of both beauty and loss. The influence of Greek mythology is evident in the tale of the siren. In ancient Greece, sirens were known for their enchanting songs that lured sailors to their deaths. They were often depicted as half-bird and half-woman, representing the duality of beauty and danger. This mythological background enriches the story of the Siren of Gozo, adding layers of depth to her character. She is not merely a creature of the sea, she is a bridge between worlds, embodying both the allure of dreams and the harsh realities of life. As the sun sets over Gozo, and the sky blazes with hues of orange and purple, the siren's song echoes through the night air. Locals and travelers alike pause to listen, their hearts swelling with emotion. It's a moment that transcends time, connecting them to those who have come before. The air is thick with stories of longing, dreams, and lost loves, creating an atmosphere that is both magical and bittersweet. Fishermen often gather to share their own encounters with the siren, their eyes sparkling with excitement as they recount their experiences. Some claim she has saved them from perilous storms, while others speak of the time she led them to a bountiful catch, guiding them through treacherous waters. Each tale adds to the mystique of the siren, making her an integral part of Gozo's maritime heritage. But not all stories are joyful. There are tales of sailors who ventured too far, entranced by her voice, only to find themselves trapped in the depths of the sea. Their spirits are said to join the siren's song, forever echoing through the waters, creating a haunting chorus that resonates with the wind. These stories serve as cautionary tales, warning of the dangers of temptation and the importance of heeding the call of the sea. The siren's influence extends beyond the shores of Gozo, touching the hearts of many throughout the Mediterranean. She has become a symbol of the dual nature of beauty, how it can be both a blessing and a curse. Her story reflects the complexities of human emotion, reminding us that love and loss are intertwined in our lives. As night falls, and the stars twinkle like diamonds above the waves, the siren's song grows softer, almost a whisper carried by the wind. Those who have listened know that her voice is not merely a melody, it is a thread that connects the past and the present, a reminder of the power of love, loss, and the enduring spirit of the sea. In that moment, surrounded by the beauty of Gozo, one cannot help but feel a sense of peace, knowing that the siren watches over them, her song a gentle reminder to cherish the moments we have, to love fiercely, and to listen closely to the stories the sea has to tell. Beneath the sun-soaked earth of Malta, hidden away from the bustle of modern life, lies the Hal Saflieni Hypogeum, a place of mystery, reverence, and whispers of the past. This ancient burial site, carved into limestone thousands of years ago, is not just a testament to human ingenuity. It is also home to a legend of a mystical guardian who watches over the resting souls within its sacred chambers. This guardian, shrouded in myth, embodies the spirit of those who came before, ensuring that their stories are never forgotten. Visitors often describe an almost palpable energy when stepping into the hypogeum. The air feels thick with history, as if the very walls are alive with the voices of the ancestors. It is said that the guardian of the hypogeum is a benevolent spirit, a protector of the dead, who ensures that peace reigns within its confines. Many believe that this guardian is the essence of a revered priest or priestess, one who once guided the living and the dead, ensuring safe passage to the afterlife. The hypogeum itself is an architectural wonder. Carved out of rock, it consists of multiple levels filled with intricate carvings and chambers that have served as burial sites for thousands of years. As you walk through the dimly lit corridors, the soft echoes of footsteps create a haunting melody that fills the air. Each chamber holds artifacts, such as pottery and skeletal remains, telling stories of a civilization that thrived long before recorded history. The air grows colder as one ventures deeper, amplifying the feeling that you are entering a sacred space, a world apart from the one above. The legend of the Guardian adds an enchanting layer to this already mystical site. Many locals recount stories of those who have experienced strange sensations while inside the hypogeum. Some claim to have felt a warm presence enveloping them, while others report hearing soft whispers calling them by name. It is as if the Guardian reaches out, comforting those who pay their respects. These encounters evoke a sense of connection, bridging the gap between the living and the long gone, reminding visitors that they are part of a larger tapestry of life and death. In Maltese folklore, the Guardian of the hypogeum symbolizes the deep respect that the ancient people had for their ancestors. To them, the dead were not to be feared; instead, they were honored and revered. The hypogeum served as a sacred space where the lines between the physical and spiritual worlds blurred. This guardian ensured that the spirits of the departed could find peace and solace, free from the chaos of the living world. The significance of the Hal Saflieni hypogeum in Maltese prehistory cannot be overstated. It stands as a testament to the beliefs and customs of a people who understood the importance of honoring their dead. Archaeological evidence suggests that the site dates back to around 4000 BC, making it one of the oldest underground burial sites in the world. Its very existence reflects the complex spiritual beliefs of the ancient Maltese, who believed in an afterlife and the importance of preserving the memory of those who had passed. As the stories of the Guardian continue to be passed down through generations, they remind us of the importance of our own roots. The Guardian of the hypogeum embodies the essence of memory, urging the living to remember and honor their ancestors. Every time a visitor steps into the hypogeum, they not only pay tribute to those who came before, but also invite the Guardian spirit into their hearts, fostering a connection that transcends time. It is said that when the moon rises high over the hypogeum, the Guardian comes alive. Locals speak of seeing a shimmering light emanating from the entrance, illuminating the dark stones. This ethereal glow is believed to be the Guardian watching over the site, protecting it from harm and ensuring that the spirits within remain undisturbed. It's a sight that inspires both awe and reverence, as those fortunate enough to witness it feel a sense of wonder wash over them, a reminder of the mysteries that lie beneath the surface of our understanding. The Guardian's story is intertwined with the many myths of Malta, echoing themes of love, loss, and the enduring bond between generations. In a world where technology often overshadows tradition, this legend serves as a reminder to cherish the past, to honor those who have shaped our lives, and to recognize the threads that bind us to our ancestors. As dusk falls and the shadows grow long, the Hal Saflieni hypogeum transforms into a sanctuary of reflection. Visitors find themselves drawn to its timeless embrace, each searching for a connection to the past. The Guardian stands watch, a silent sentinel ensuring that the stories of the ancient ones live on. In this sacred space, hearts are stirred, and emotions swell as people feel the weight of history pressing down upon them, reminding them that they are part of something much greater than themselves. Through the whispers of the Guardian, the spirits of the hypogeum call out, reminding us that life is fleeting, and the bonds we create are everlasting. The legend of the Guardian serves not only to protect the dead but also to inspire the living. Each visit to the hypogeum becomes a pilgrimage of sorts, an opportunity to reflect on our own legacies, the impact we leave behind, and the connections we forge with those who came before us. In this sacred space, under the watchful gaze of the Guardian, visitors find solace in knowing that they are not alone. The spirit of the Hal Saflieni hypogeum lives on, a reminder that love and remembrance can transcend the boundaries of time and space. As they leave the hallowed grounds, they carry with them the weight of history, the songs of the past, and the whispers of the Guardian, forever changed by the experience of walking among the echoes of those who once walked before them. In the shimmering waters of Malta's blue hole, where the sunlight dances on the surface and the depths seem to beckon with whispers of the unknown, tales of nymphs linger in the salty breeze. These enchanting creatures are said to dwell within the crystal-clear waters, their laughter mingling with the gentle lapping of waves against the rocky shore. The Blue Hole is not just a stunning natural wonder, it is a sacred place where local myth intertwines with the beauty of the landscape, creating a space filled with magic and allure. As the sun rises over the horizon, casting a golden glow across the water, the Blue Hole takes on an ethereal quality. The colors shift from vibrant blues to deep indigos, revealing a hidden world that has captivated the hearts of many. Locals tell stories of the nymphs, playful spirits who embody the essence of the sea. They are said to be guardians of the water, enchanting any who venture too close to their domain. Some describe them as beautiful maidens with flowing hair, their skin glistening like the ocean itself. Others say they are more mischievous, pulling unsuspecting swimmers into the depths with their songs, their voices a melodic siren call that is impossible to resist. The legend of the Blue Hole nymph speaks to the harmony between nature and mythology. These creatures are more than mere figments of imagination, they represent the spirit of the land and the sea, reminding us of the beauty and danger that coexist in our world. When fishermen cast their nets and divers explore the vibrant underwater life, they often offer prayers to the nymphs, seeking their blessing for safe passage and bountiful catches. The connection between the people and these mythical beings fosters a deep respect for the sea, recognizing that it is both a source of life and a force to be reckoned with. Many who have visited the Blue Hole recount experiences that feel otherworldly. Some claim to have glimpsed the nymphs, their graceful forms dancing just beneath the surface, a flash of iridescent scales disappearing as quickly as it appeared. Others have described feeling a sudden chill in the air, followed by an overwhelming sense of joy, as if the nymphs were playfully welcoming them into their watery realm. These encounters leave a mark on the soul, igniting a sense of wonder and a yearning for connection with the mysteries of nature. The merging of local myth with the Blue Hole's breathtaking beauty creates a unique tapestry of emotions and experiences. Families gather on the rocky outcrops, sharing stories of the nymphs with their children, weaving tales of adventure and caution. Beware the nymphs, they say with a twinkle in their eyes, for their beauty is both captivating and treacherous. These stories serve as a gentle reminder of the delicate balance of life, teaching respect for the natural world and the unseen forces that inhabit it. For the Maltese, the Blue Hole is not just a place to swim or sunbathe, it is a sacred space filled with history and lore. The nymphs represent the spirit of resilience, a reflection of the community's bond with the sea that has sustained them for generations. Whether it's a fisherman casting his net or a child splashing in the shallows, the stories of the nymphs echo through time, reminding everyone of their place in the grand narrative of life. As evening falls and the sun sinks below the horizon, the Blue Hole takes on a different character. The water reflects the hues of the setting sun, and the sounds of laughter and splashes fade into the whispers of the night. It is during these quiet moments that the presence of the nymphs is most palpable. The gentle breeze carries the scent of salt and seaweed, and the air feels alive with possibility. Those who linger near the water's edge may hear the soft hum of a melody, as if the nymphs are serenading the stars. It's a hauntingly beautiful sound, a lullaby that wraps around you like a warm embrace, evoking feelings of nostalgia and yearning. In the quiet solitude of the Blue Hole, one can't help but feel a connection to something greater. The nymphs remind us of the magic that lies in nature, encouraging us to pause, reflect, and appreciate the wonders of the world. With each visit, the legends of the nymphs grow richer, woven into the fabric of daily life and the rhythms of the tides. The Blue Hole serves as a reminder of the delicate interplay between humanity and the natural world. The nymphs embody the spirit of this connection, urging us to listen to the stories of the sea and honor the places that shape our lives. As we marvel at the beauty of the water and the landscape that surrounds it, we are reminded that we are part of a larger story, one that has been told for centuries and will continue to be shared for generations to come. In the end, the tale of the Blue Hole nymphs is not just about mythical beings, it's a celebration of life, love, and the enduring spirit of the Maltese people. It's a story that inspires us to seek out the magic in our everyday lives, to listen to the whispers of nature, and to cherish the connections that bind us to each other and the world around us. As we stand on the edge of the blue hole, we find ourselves not only captivated by its beauty but also enveloped in the spirit of the nymphs, who remind us that we are never truly alone in this vast, wondrous universe. In the rugged cliffs of Zurich, where the waves crash violently against the rocks and the air is thick with mystery, tales of jinn linger in the salty breeze. These ancient spirits, steeped in Arabic folklore, are said to haunt the area, weaving stories of enchantment, terror, and the unknown. As the sun sets, casting a golden hue over the cliffs, the shadows seem to dance, and with them, the legends of the jinn come alive, pulling at the heartstrings of all who listen. The tales often speak of jinn as powerful beings who can shapeshift and possess immense abilities. They are not simply creatures of evil, instead, they embody the complexities of human nature, capable of both kindness and malice. Locals whisper about their presence, sharing stories of travelers who ventured too close to the cliffs only to feel a chilling sensation, as if they were being watched by unseen eyes. Some claim to have heard whispers on the wind, echoes of ancient voices that tugged at their hearts, evoking feelings of longing and nostalgia. Others tell of sightings, figures fleeting in the shadows, too quick to be caught but lingering in the memory, leaving an impression that feels both haunting and beautiful. The influence of Arabic myth on Maltese folklore is woven through the very fabric of the island's history. The arrival of various cultures, especially the Arabs, left a lasting impact on the local beliefs and traditions. The stories of jinn reflect the blending of these influences, illustrating how folklore evolves and adapts over time. In Malta, the jinn are often depicted as protectors of the land, guardians of its secrets, and harbingers of both fortune and misfortune. Their dual nature captivates the imagination, reminding us that every story has two sides, just like the cliffs of Zurich, where beauty and danger coexist. As dusk settles over the cliffs, a sense of magic fills the air. The golden light fades, and the shadows grow longer, creating an atmosphere ripe for storytelling. Families gather around flickering lanterns, sharing tales passed down through generations. The children listen wide-eyed, their hearts pounding with excitement as they imagine the jinn flitting among the rocks, mischievous yet protective. It is a moment of connection, a reminder that these stories bind the community together, creating a shared heritage that resonates with everyone. One tale tells of a fisherman who, during a stormy night, sought refuge along the cliffs of Zurich. As he huddled against the cold stone, he noticed a shimmering figure emerging from the shadows. The figure approached him, not with malice, but with an air of grace and wisdom. The fisherman felt an unexplainable pull, as if the jinn were drawn to him, sensing his struggle. With a gentle wave, the jinn calmed the storm, guiding the fisherman back to safety. In gratitude, the fisherman promised to honor the jinn and tell his story to others, ensuring that the spirit would not be forgotten. Such stories reflect the deep bond between humans and the supernatural. The jinn in these tales are not merely ghosts or apparitions, they represent the trials and triumphs of life itself. They teach lessons of humility, respect, and the importance of acknowledging the forces that lie beyond our understanding. The whispers of the jinn echo through the cliffs, urging us to listen, to feel, and to connect with the world around us. The cliffs of Zurich stand as a testament to the power of nature and the stories it inspires. As the waves crash relentlessly against the rocks, the jinn are said to resonate with the energy of the sea, a reflection of their own tumultuous nature. Those who dare to approach the cliffs often report an inexplicable sense of awe mixed with fear. It's as if the jinn are both warning and welcoming, reminding visitors of the fine line between admiration and danger. On certain nights, when the moon hangs high in the sky, casting silvery light across the landscape, the atmosphere shifts dramatically. Locals claim that the jinn are most active during these moonlit hours, weaving between the cliffs and the waves. Fishermen and sailors often pay homage to these spirits, leaving offerings at the water's edge in hopes of favorable winds and safe travels. This practice reveals a profound respect for the natural and supernatural realms, acknowledging that life is a delicate dance between the two. The influence of jinn on Maltese culture extends beyond mere tales of haunting encounters. Their presence serves as a reminder of the power of nature, the importance of tradition, and the lessons that can be learned from the stories of the past. The cliffs of Zurich become a canvas for these narratives, each wave crashing against the rock telling a story of its own. As dawn approaches, the first rays of sunlight break over the horizon, illuminating the cliffs and dispelling the shadows. The jinn may retreat into their hidden realms, but their essence lingers in the hearts of those who believe. The tales shared by families resonate through the ages, reminding everyone of the magic that lies just beyond the surface of everyday life. In the end, the stories of the Zurich jinn are more than mere folklore, they are a reflection of our deepest fears and hopes. They remind us of the unseen forces that shape our lives, urging us to approach the world with wonder and respect. In this beautiful, rugged landscape, where the cliffs meet the sea, the spirits continue to whisper, weaving their magic into the very fabric of Maltese culture, encouraging us all to listen closely to the stories that surround us. In the heart of Valletta, where the cobblestone streets echo with history and the air is thick with whispers of the past, there lingers a tale that sends shivers down the spine. The story of the Bell Witch, a haunting figure said to roam the shadows of the city's grand churches, resonates with both fear and fascination. It is a narrative that intertwines love, loss, and the restless spirit of a woman who was wronged. As the sun sets behind the ancient stone walls, casting a warm glow that slowly fades into dusk, the bells of Valletta ring out across the harbor. Each chime carries a story, but one sound stands apart from the rest. It is said that when the clock strikes midnight, a different bell tolls, one that resonates with sorrow and longing. This is the Bell Witch, a ghostly presence who watches over the churches, forever trapped between worlds. Locals speak of her with a mix of reverence and trepidation. They say she was once a beautiful woman who lived in the city, admired by many but loved by few. Her heart was claimed by a soldier who promised her the moon, but when the time came for him to leave, he vanished, leaving her alone and broken-hearted. In her despair, she sought solace in the church bells, believing that if she rang them loud enough, he would hear her call and return. But the bells only echoed her pain, amplifying her sorrow until it twisted into something darker. It was during one fateful night that tragedy struck. Consumed by grief, the woman climbed to the belfry, her heart heavy with longing and betrayal. In a moment of despair, she rang the bells with all her might, crying out for her lost love. But fate was unkind. As the last chime echoed through the streets, she slipped and fell from the tower, her cries swallowed by the night. Ever since that night, her spirit has been said to haunt the churches of Valletta, particularly those with bells that tolled during the darkest hours. The locals believe that she seeks to warn others of the dangers of unfulfilled promises and the pain of lost love. The chilling sound of the bells in the midnight air serves as a reminder of her sorrow, and many avoid walking near the churches when the clock strikes 12, fearing her haunting presence. Stories of the Bell Witch have spread throughout the generations, creating a tapestry of folklore that captures the imagination. People recount tales of hearing her soft whispers carried by the wind, a haunting melody that lingers just out of reach. Some say they have seen her silhouette against the glow of the moon, a figure draped in white, gazing longingly at the bells she once rang in life. Children dare each other to walk past the churches at midnight, their hearts racing with a mix of fear and excitement. They exchange stories of how the Bell Witch can sense those with a broken heart, how she may even reach out to them in their dreams, offering solace or warning. These tales, though filled with terror, often touch on themes of love and loss, reminding the listeners that even in darkness, there can be a glimmer of hope. As the churches stand sentinel over the city, their historic architecture tells stories of faith, devotion, and the human experience. Valletta's landscape is dotted with these sacred sites, each with its own rich history and connection to the past. The Bell Witch adds a layer of mystery to this already enchanting backdrop, merging the beauty of the city with the complexity of human emotions. On quiet evenings, when the streets are empty and the only sound is the gentle rustle of leaves, the bells begin to toll. Those who remain in the city feel an unexplainable chill in the air. It's as if the spirit of the Bell Witch awakens, stirring the souls of those who pass by. Some stop and listen, their hearts heavy with the weight of their own lost loves. In those moments, they feel a connection to her, a bond formed through shared heartache. In the midst of Valletta's bustling life, the story of the bell witch serves as a poignant reminder of the fragility of love and the power of longing. It encourages reflection on the promises we make and the impacts of our actions. The witch is not just a figure of fear, she is a symbol of every person who has ever felt abandoned or alone. As dawn approaches and the first rays of sunlight break over the horizon, the bells fall silent. The spell of the night lifts, and the people of Valletta begin their day, but the legend of the bell witch remains alive in their hearts. They carry with them the echoes of her sorrow and the lessons learned from her tale. In Valletta, where every corner tells a story, the bell witch continues to resonate. She embodies the essence of love, loss, and the haunting nature of unfulfilled dreams. As the bells ring out through the ages, her spirit remains intertwined with the fabric of the city, reminding all who hear her tale that love can transcend even the darkest of fates. In the quiet town of Marsa, where the air carries a gentle breeze and the scent of wild herbs lingers, there lies a tale that many have whispered about around flickering fires. It's a story that sends a shiver down the spine yet offers comfort at the same time, the legend of the phantom dogs of Marsa. These spectral dogs are said to roam the ancient sites, protecting the land and its history with unwavering loyalty and fierce devotion. Their presence is felt by the locals, who see them not merely as phantoms, but as guardians, watchful spirits of the past. As dusk falls and shadows stretch across the fields, the townspeople share stories of encounters with these ghostly hounds. Some say they have heard their low growls, echoing through the night like distant thunder. Others recount seeing glowing eyes in the darkness, watching with a fierce intensity that instills both fear and awe. The sight of these ethereal creatures is said to be a warning. They appear to those who seek to harm the land or disturb its sacred sites. Their haunting growls send a clear message: respect the land, or face the wrath of its protectors. For generations, the people of Marsa have revered these phantom dogs, believing they are the spirits of loyal companions from long ago. In Maltese culture, animals hold a special place, often viewed as messengers from the divine or protectors of the home. The bond between humans and animals is considered sacred, and the phantom dogs embody this connection, reminding everyone of the deep respect for nature and the spirits that dwell within it. One evening, a young boy named Luca, filled with curiosity and a sense of adventure, ventured into the fields near an ancient burial site rumored to be haunted by the spectral dogs. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow that slowly faded into twilight. As Luca wandered further, he began to feel a strange energy surrounding him, a mix of excitement and apprehension. He had heard the stories from his grandmother, tales of how the dogs roamed these lands to protect the forgotten souls resting beneath the earth. Suddenly, the air grew still, and the only sound was the rustle of leaves in the gentle breeze. Then, out of the shadows, a figure emerged. At first, it appeared to be a trick of the light, but as it stepped closer, Luca realized it was a large dog, its form shimmering like a mirage. Its eyes glowed with an otherworldly light, and it stood tall and proud, a guardian of the night. Luca's heart raced as he approached cautiously, curiosity overcoming his fear. The dog seemed to sense his intentions, lowering its head slightly as if to acknowledge him. In that moment, Luca felt an unexplainable connection, a bond that transcended time. The dog let out a soft whine, and in the stillness, Luca understood. It was not a warning, it was an invitation. With a deep breath, he knelt down and extended his hand, his heart full of wonder. The phantom dog stepped forward, its ghostly form brushing against him. A warmth spread through Luca's fingertips, a feeling of comfort and safety that he had never known before. He realized that this was a protector, a spirit that watched over the land, guarding it with unwavering loyalty. As the two shared that moment, the night came alive with sounds, the rustling of leaves, the distant hoot of an owl, and the whispers of the wind. Luca felt as if he was part of something much larger than himself, a connection to the past and the spirits that had roamed these lands long before him. It was a reminder of the history that lay beneath the soil, of the lives once lived, and the love that transcended even death. After a few moments, the dog turned and began to walk away, pausing to glance back at Luca, as if to say, "Remember." With that, it vanished into the night, leaving Luca standing alone but forever changed. He knew he would carry the memory of that encounter in his heart, a story to share with others, just as his grandmother had shared with him. From that night on, Luca became a guardian of the stories of Marsa, sharing tales of the phantom dogs with his friends and family. He spoke of their loyalty and protection, inspiring a sense of reverence for the land and its spirits. The children of Marsa listened with wide eyes, their imaginations ignited by the idea that the animals they loved were not just companions, but also protectors of their world. As years passed, the stories of the phantom dogs continued to be told, weaving a rich tapestry of history and belief in the community. People began to notice the beauty around them, the ancient sites, and the landscapes that held secrets waiting to be discovered. They understood that the spirits of the past were alive in the world around them, watching over their homes, their families, and their lives. The legend of the phantom dogs of Marsa is more than just a story. It is a reflection of the Maltese spirit, a connection to the land, its history, and the bonds shared with all living beings. In the hearts of those who believe, the dogs remain vigilant, protecting not just the physical sights, but also the memories and the love that they represent. As the sun sets over Marsa, the townspeople often gather to share their experiences, to honor the guardians of the past. They recount their own encounters, their whispers blending with the wind, creating a symphony of reverence and gratitude. Each tale adds to the legacy of the phantom dogs, reminding everyone that love and loyalty endure even beyond the grave. In a world that can sometimes feel disconnected, the story of the phantom dogs serves as a poignant reminder of the bonds we share with animals and the importance of respecting the land that nurtures us. It encourages us to listen to the whispers of the past, to honor those who came before, and to recognize the guardians who protect our hearts and homes. In the small village of Hazebug, nestled in the heart of Malta, stories of goblins flutter through the air like whispers in the wind. These tales are not just folklore, they are part of the very fabric of the community, weaving together laughter and a sense of wonder. The Hazebug goblins are mischievous creatures, known for their playful tricks and clever antics that bring both joy and chaos to the village. On warm summer nights, when the stars twinkle like diamonds overhead, the villagers often gather to share their experiences with these cheeky beings. Children sit wide-eyed, their imaginations soaring as the stories unfold. Adults chuckle, recalling their own encounters, each tale growing more colorful with every retelling. It is said that if you listen closely on a quiet night, you can hear the faint giggles of the goblins, echoing through the streets, inviting you to join in their playful mischief. The goblins of Hazebug are not creatures of malice, rather, they embody the spirit of fun and mischief. They love to play tricks on unsuspecting villagers, stealing hats, hiding tools, and swapping items around. One villager, an elderly woman named Maria, tells a story that has become legendary in the village. One evening, while she was preparing dinner, she suddenly noticed her prized wooden spoon was missing. She searched high and low, under cushions, and behind the curtains, but it was nowhere to be found. Frustrated, she opened her window and called out into the night, "If you're out there, goblins, give me back my spoon." As if in response, she heard a soft tinkle of laughter and, just moments later, the spoon appeared, hanging from the branch of a nearby tree, glimmering in the moonlight. Maria laughed, realizing she had been visited by the goblins once again. Her heart swelled with affection for the little troublemakers. Another tale speaks of young Luca, a brave boy known for his adventurous spirit. One afternoon, he decided to explore the nearby woods, venturing further than he ever had before. As he wandered among the trees, he suddenly stumbled upon a clearing filled with vibrant flowers and sparkling streams. In the center stood a group of goblins, their little bodies moving with glee as they played games and danced around. Instead of being afraid, Luca was captivated. The goblins noticed him and, with mischievous grins, beckoned him to join their revelry. With laughter and squeals, they invited him into their world of enchantment. They played tag among the trees, their laughter ringing like music through the forest. For what felt like hours, Luca felt a joy he had never known, forgetting all his worries and cares. But as the sun began to set, casting long shadows through the trees, the goblins pulled Luca aside. They looked serious, their eyes twinkling with mischief yet holding a hint of warning. "When the moon rises, you must return home," one of them said. "We can't keep you forever. Humans must not linger in our world too long." Reluctantly, Luca promised to return another day and hurried home, his heart racing with excitement. That evening, he shared his adventure with his family, who listened in awe. From that day forward, he became the village's storyteller, regaling others with his enchanting experience with the Hazebud goblins, sparking dreams of magical encounters in every listener's heart. These tales, full of laughter and playful spirits, also carry deeper meanings for the villagers. The goblins remind them of the importance of joy and laughter in their lives. Amid the struggles of daily life, the mischief of these little creatures offers a sense of lightness, encouraging everyone to embrace their inner child. In the autumn months, the goblins seem to be particularly active. During the village's harvest festival, children decorate their homes with colorful lanterns and flowers, hoping to attract the goblins' attention. It is believed that if the goblins are pleased, they will bless the village with good fortune and bountiful harvests. On the night of the festival, laughter and music fill the air, and the villagers dance under the stars, feeling the presence of the goblins in their hearts. One year, during this very festival, a fierce storm rolled in, threatening to ruin the celebrations. As the wind howled and rain poured down, the villagers huddled together, worried that their beloved festival would be washed away. But just then, a soft glow appeared in the distance, and the unmistakable sound of laughter echoed through the storm. Suddenly, the rain lightened, and the wind settled. The villagers looked up in amazement as they saw tiny figures dancing in the rain, their forms illuminated by the light of the lanterns. It was the goblins. They had come to join the celebration, bringing their joy and mischief to chase away the storm. The villagers cheered, their spirits lifted, as they rushed outside to dance with the goblins, celebrating life amidst the chaos. These moments of connection between the goblins and the villagers served to strengthen the bonds within the community. They remind everyone that joy can be found even in the darkest of times, and that laughter can unite hearts. The tales of the Hazebud goblins have become a source of pride for the villagers, a testament to their resilience and ability to find happiness in every situation. As time passes, the stories of the goblins evolve but remain rooted in the hearts of the people. New generations grow up listening to the enchanting tales, filling their imaginations with wonder and excitement. They learn not just to believe in the goblins, but also to embrace the spirit of playfulness in their own lives. On quiet evenings, when the village settles down for the night, you might catch a glimpse of a young child peeking out of their window, hoping to catch a glimpse of the goblins at play. Or you may hear the soft laughter of friends gathering around a fire, sharing stories of the goblins' mischief, their voices ringing with joy. The Hazebud goblins may be mischievous, but their spirit brings warmth and laughter to the village, reminding everyone that magic exists in the simplest of moments. In Hazebud, the goblins are more than just figures of folklore, they are woven into the very identity of the village, embodying its spirit of joy and togetherness. Their tales continue to inspire laughter and a sense of adventure, lighting the way for all who believe in the magic of mischief and the beauty of community. On the quiet island of Comino, whispers of a spectral figure float through the air like the gentle breeze that sweeps across the rocky shores. The silent monk, as he is known, is said to wander the desolate paths of the island, shrouded in mystery and solitude. His presence is felt by those who visit, an echo of history wrapped in an aura of peace and reflection. As the sun dips below the horizon, casting long shadows over the landscape, visitors often share stories of their encounters with the monk. Many claim to have seen a cloaked figure moving silently along the coastline, his face hidden beneath the hood of his robe. Those who have caught a glimpse of him describe a profound sense of calm washing over them, as if the monk carries the weight of centuries of wisdom within his silent form. One night, a young traveler named Elena found herself on the island, drawn by its beauty and tranquility. She had heard the tales of the silent monk but thought little of them as mere folklore. However, as she walked along the moonlit shore, the stillness of the night enveloped her. The sound of the waves crashing against the rocks was mesmerizing, and the stars above twinkled like diamonds scattered across a velvet sky. Suddenly, she noticed a figure in the distance, barely visible against the night. The monk stood still, gazing out over the water, his robes fluttering gently in the breeze. Intrigued and a little frightened, Elena approached him, her heart racing. As she drew nearer, she felt an overwhelming sense of peace wash over her, as if she were stepping into a sacred space. "Are you real?" she dared to ask, her voice barely a whisper. The monk turned slightly, but he did not respond. Instead, he lifted his hand and pointed toward the horizon. Following his gesture, Elena saw a magnificent sight, a trail of shimmering light dancing upon the waves, leading toward the distant shore. It was beautiful, almost otherworldly. Elena stood in awe, feeling as if she had been granted a glimpse into a hidden world. The monk remained silent, his presence a comforting reminder of the beauty and mystery of life. Time seemed to stand still as they both gazed out at the shimmering sea, lost in the moment. After a while, the monk turned away, walking silently back into the shadows of the island. Elena felt a sudden pang of sadness as he disappeared from view, as if a piece of magic had slipped away. Yet, the experience left her with a sense of purpose. She realized that sometimes, silence speaks louder than words, and in those quiet moments, one can find clarity and connection with the universe. The silent monk's legend traces back to the time when monasteries dotted the landscape of Malta and its surrounding islands. Monks lived a life dedicated to prayer, contemplation, and service. Many believed that Comino, with its breathtaking natural beauty and isolation, was a perfect place for spiritual reflection. The monks who inhabited the island sought solace away from the bustling world, dedicating themselves to their faith and the preservation of knowledge. Over the years, stories of their devout lives and practices became intertwined with the legend of the silent monk. Locals believe that his spirit remains on Comino, serving as a guardian of the island's tranquility. Those who venture to the island often find themselves searching for him, hoping to catch a glimpse of the spectral figure or feel his calming presence. Another traveler, an elderly man named Mario, had been visiting Comino every year for decades. He had heard tales of the silent monk from his grandmother as a child, and the stories ignited a spark of curiosity within him. One evening, after a long day of exploring the island's stunning cliffs and azure waters, Mario decided to take a moment to reflect by the shore. As he sat on a rock, he closed his eyes and listened to the rhythmic sound of the waves. It was then he felt a gentle breeze brush against his face. When he opened his eyes, he saw the monk standing a few feet away, looking at him with eyes that seemed to hold a lifetime of knowledge. Unlike others, Mario felt no fear. Instead, he felt a sense of understanding, as if the monk recognized the weight of his life's journey. Mario began to share his struggles, his hopes, and the burdens he carried. To his surprise, the monk did not respond with words, but simply listened, his expression calm and patient. The silence enveloped Mario, wrapping him in comfort. After a while, he felt a lightness in his heart, as if the monk had lifted some of the heaviness that had been weighing him down. As the sun set, painting the sky with vibrant hues, the monk nodded gently before fading back into the shadows. Mario returned home that evening with a renewed sense of purpose. He realized that in the chaos of life, the act of sharing one's heart, even in silence, could lead to healing and clarity. The tales of the silent monk continue to be passed down from generation to generation. Locals share stories of how he appears during times of turmoil, guiding lost souls back to peace. On stormy nights, when the winds howl and the waves crash fiercely against the cliffs, villagers say they can hear the monk's soft footsteps echoing through the air, reminding them that even in darkness, there is hope. For many, the monk is not just a ghostly figure. He represents the power of faith, reflection, and the importance of finding stillness in a busy world. In a place where life moves rapidly, he serves as a gentle reminder to pause, breathe, and listen to the quiet wisdom that surrounds us. As the years pass and Comino continues to capture the hearts of those who visit, the legend of the silent monk endures. His spirit lingers in the air, a comforting presence that guides and inspires all who seek solace in the beauty of the island. Whether seen or felt, his influence is a thread that weaves through the lives of those who are fortunate enough to cross paths with him, leaving a lasting impression of peace and reflection in their hearts. At the edge of the world, where the land meets the sky, lies the magnificent Dingley Cliffs. Standing tall against the waves crashing below, these cliffs are not only a breathtaking sight but also a canvas for haunting echoes. Locals whisper of an echoing phantom that wanders the heights, a creature whose presence brings both fear and intrigue to those who venture close. It is said that this spirit, lurking in the shadows of the cliffs, has the power to transform simple sounds into haunting echoes, creating a symphony of whispers that chill the soul. The stories begin long before modern times, rooted in the very fabric of Maltese folklore. Those who live near the cliffs have long shared tales of the mysterious entity that haunts this dramatic landscape. People speak of nights when the wind carries voices across the air, and laughter or cries are thrown back at them from the cliffs, echoing like a distant memory. Children dare each other to call out into the darkness, only to have their voices returned, twisted and eerie. The echoes are not just sounds, they are reminders of something greater, something watching. One evening, a group of friends decided to hike to the cliffs, eager to witness the natural beauty of the area and perhaps experience the echoing phantom for themselves. Among them was Lisa, a spirited young woman with a thirst for adventure. As they approached the edge of the cliffs, the sun dipped low on the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink. The view was breathtaking, but a palpable tension filled the air. "Do you think we'll hear it?" Lisa asked, her voice a mix of excitement and trepidation. The others shrugged, half-heartedly dismissing the tales. Yet, as night began to fall, an uneasy silence settled over the group. They gathered near the edge, where the sheer drop met the restless sea below. The world around them grew dark, and the familiar sounds of nature faded, replaced by an almost electric stillness. "Let's call out," one of her friends suggested, and with that, the group began to shout into the void. "Hello! Is anyone there?" Their laughter rang out into the night, but it quickly faded into the eerie quiet. Then, without warning, a voice echoed back, twisted and distorted. "Anyone there? Anyone there?" The friends froze, their hearts racing. It was as if the cliffs were alive, responding to their calls in a haunting mimicry. Lisa felt a shiver run down her spine, and she clutched her friend's arm tightly. "Maybe we should go," she whispered, her bravado slipping away. The others nodded in agreement, suddenly feeling the weight of the stories they had brushed off so easily. As they turned to leave, Lisa noticed something out of the corner of her eye, a figure standing at the edge of the cliff. It was cloaked in shadows, its form barely visible against the darkening sky. "Did you see that?" she gasped, pointing toward the figure. Her friends squinted into the dim light, but it had vanished as quickly as it had appeared. The fear that gripped them was real, an icy tendril wrapping around their hearts. They hurried back along the path, the echoes of their laughter now replaced with the pounding of their hearts and the whisper of the wind. The phantom had made its presence known, and the legends of the cliffs felt more alive than ever. The next day, driven by curiosity, Lisa decided to return alone. She needed to understand the echoes, the stories, and the figure she had seen. As she stood at the cliff's edge, she felt a mix of fear and determination. The sky was a brilliant blue, and the waves danced below, but the air was thick with anticipation. "Is anyone there?" she called out, her voice strong and clear. To her shock, the reply came not as a mimicry but as a soft, sorrowful echo. There. It was not threatening but almost pleading. Lisa's heart raced, but she felt an odd connection, a pull to stay and listen. "Why do you haunt these cliffs?" she asked, her voice trembling. The wind picked up, and the echo returned again, lost. A chill ran through Lisa as she realized this was not just a tale of mischief, it was a story of longing and sorrow. The phantom was a spirit trapped between worlds, unable to find peace. With each echo, Lisa felt the weight of its sadness, the loss it carried. Determined to help, she closed her eyes and focused. "I hear you," she said softly. "You are not forgotten." For a moment, the air felt lighter, as if the cliffs themselves were holding their breath. Then, the echoes faded into the wind, replaced by a serene silence that enveloped her like a warm blanket. After that day, Lisa returned to the cliffs often, sharing her experience with the locals. They listened intently, their eyes wide with wonder and fear. Many began to see the echoes not just as a haunting but as a reminder of the lost souls who wander the cliffs, waiting for someone to listen. The stories of the echoing phantom of Dingley Cliffs transformed into tales of compassion and understanding. People began to approach the cliffs with respect, acknowledging the presence that lingered there. They would leave small tokens, flowers, stones, or letters, at the edge, gifts of remembrance for the spirit lost in the echoes. As the years passed, the phantom became a symbol of connection between the living and the dead. Those who stood at the cliffs felt a bond with the spirit, a reminder that even in silence, there is a story worth hearing. The echoes were no longer just sounds, they became a way for the past to communicate with the present, bridging the gap between worlds. In the heart of Malta, the Dingley Cliffs stand as a testament to the enduring power of folklore and the human spirit. The echoing phantom, once feared, now serves as a guardian of memories and emotions, a gentle reminder that even in the shadows, there is light, understanding, and a connection that transcends time. Those who visit the cliffs leave with more than just memories of the stunning views. They carry with them the echoes of the past, whispers of lost souls forever woven into the fabric of Malta's rich history. In the heart of Malta, where ancient stones whisper tales of the past, a vibrant revival of mythology breathes life into the island's culture. The mythical creatures that once roamed the imagination of the people are now coming back, dancing through modern festivals, art, and storytelling. This transformation is more than just a trend, it is a powerful reminder of the island's rich heritage, connecting the old with the new, the seen with the unseen. As the sun sets over the Mediterranean, the air fills with the sounds of laughter and music during the annual folklore festival in a small Maltese village. Here, families gather, adorned in colorful costumes, to celebrate their culture through dance and song. The stories of ancient beings come alive as performers reenact tales of the siren from Gozo, the mischievous goblins of Hazebug, and the protector owl, the Tazuntir. Each dance, each song, breathes life into these legends, reminding everyone present of their deep roots and Maltese identity. Among the crowd is Maria, a young girl with wide eyes filled with wonder. As she watches the performers twirl and leap, she feels an electric connection to the stories told. These myths are not just old tales, they are part of her very being, connecting her to generations of her ancestors who spoke of the same creatures by the flickering firelight. Maria's heart swells with pride as she imagines herself as part of this living tradition, carrying the stories forward into the future. Art plays a significant role in this revival of mythology. Local artists, inspired by the enchanting legends, create stunning murals and sculptures that capture the essence of these ancient stories. In the streets of Valletta, vibrant depictions of the Lelital Canti, the guardians of lost souls, can be seen adorning the walls. These images invite passers-by to pause, reflect, and feel the magic of the past seeping into their daily lives. Each brushstroke is a reminder that these myths are not just stories, but a way to understand the world around them. In her small studio, artist Elena pours her soul into her work. She often finds herself lost in thoughts of the siren of Gozo, imagining the way she lured sailors with her haunting melodies. Elena's paintings capture the siren's beauty and sorrow, portraying her as both a temptress and a tragic figure. Through her art, Elena hopes to evoke emotions that resonate deeply with those who view her work. "I want people to feel the connection," she explains, her voice filled with passion. "These myths are part of who we are. They tell us about love, loss, and the power of nature. They remind us that we are not alone in this world." Storytelling has also emerged as a powerful tool for cultural preservation. Local storytellers, or kalimni, gather in village squares, captivating audiences with their tales of mystical creatures and ancient heroes. The magic of their words transports listeners to a time when dragons soared through the skies and witches roamed the cobblestone streets. Families come together, young and old, as they sit in a circle, eagerly listening to stories that have been passed down through generations. One evening, an elderly man named Giovanni, with a twinkle in his eye, takes center stage. His voice, though soft, carries the weight of wisdom. As he begins to share the legend of the cursed snake woman, the audience is drawn in. They lean forward, hanging on to every word. Giovanni's storytelling is filled with emotion. He weaves the tale with such vivid detail that the listeners can almost feel the chill of the snake woman's curse. Long ago, he starts, there lived a woman, beautiful but misunderstood. She was shunned by her village, and in her loneliness, she was cursed to become half snake, half woman. But she was not evil, she was merely seeking love and acceptance. The crowd listens in silence, their hearts heavy with empathy for the snake woman. As Giovanni's tale unfolds, the audience can't help but reflect on their own experiences of feeling different, of longing for acceptance. Festivals, art, and storytelling create a tapestry of Maltese culture, bringing together people from all walks of life. The revival of these ancient myths has sparked a newfound interest among the younger generation. School children, inspired by the stories they hear, are now writing their own versions of the tales, imagining new adventures for the creatures of their ancestors. One day, during an art class, Maria picks up a brush, her heart racing with excitement. She decides to paint her interpretation of the echoing phantom of Dingley Cliffs. With each stroke, she captures the essence of the spirit that echoes through the cliffs, mixing colors of blues and greens, reflecting the sea and sky. I want to show that the phantom is not something to fear, she tells her classmates. It's a part of our history, and it connects us to the land. As she paints, Maria feels a sense of belonging, knowing she is part of a larger story that stretches back through time. Her artwork will not just hang on the wall, it will speak to others, inviting them to embrace the rich tapestry of Maltese mythology. The revival of Maltese mythology also has a profound impact on the tourism industry. Visitors flock to the island, eager to experience the stories they've heard. They participate in guided tours that take them to the sites of legendary events, like the ruins of ancient temples and the cliffs where sirens are said to sing. Tourists listen with rapt attention as local guides share tales of mythical creatures, creating a bridge between the past and the present. For the people of Malta, this revival is more than a celebration, it is a lifeline. It reminds them of their roots, their struggles, and their triumphs. The myths tell of love, bravery, and the bond between people and nature. As the echoes of these stories reverberate through the island, they awaken a sense of identity and pride. As the sun sets on another day in Malta, the vibrant colors of the festival linger in the air, mixing with the laughter of children and the stories of elders. The mythical creatures that once seemed to fade into the shadows now dance brightly in the light of modern culture. Through art, festivals, and storytelling, the heartbeat of Maltese mythology continues to thrive, a testament to the power of stories in connecting generations and preserving a rich heritage. The young girl, Maria, holds the promise of the future, her heart intertwined with the tales of her ancestors. With every stroke of her brush, every word spoken, she helps to keep the myths alive. In Malta, the past and present blend seamlessly, creating a legacy that will echo for generations to come.